What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Dalton, Wasserman, Trevor, Sikkema here with you guys to talk about every single game that we saw in Week 16. We're going to review all the grades, all the players, everything, give you the top 5 graded players that we had for every single player in every single game. We'll give you most impressive, most disappointing, and then, of course, our stat that told the story of how we got to that result. Dalton, how you doing, my friend?
Good. Part of a loaded day. Right after this, I've got the college football playoff quarterfinal preview with Max right after this.
I know. Anybody who is sitting at their computer or at work or however you are taking in the show, first of all, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Just keep it rolling right after this. The college guys are going live right after that. Are you guys, is it a preview show?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did the review show already, and then it's going to be a preview show of the bowl games coming up, or the college football playoff games are coming up?
The college football playoff games, because we won't be here. Max and I won't be here pretty much the rest of the week after tomorrow. So we're getting the preview in.
What, something happening? What are you guys just taking off?
Max, you know, he's like, well, he's trying to be
families?
He's trying to be on vacation as long as possible. You know, he's just moving everything else up so he can get out of here. You know, so it's just, you know, everything's just crunched up this week. It's Christmas on Thursday, Trevor. We got 3 NFL games Thursday. We got a loaded week here.
Very well aware. Happy early Christmas to everybody who is out there. By the way, early Christmas present for you guys. If you don't have a PFF Plus subscription and you would like one, Holiday 30. So you get 30% off. Using that promo code there, go to subscribe.pff.com and you can get 30% off of that PFF Plus subscription. You're going to hear a lot of different numbers, grades, data points, everything that we're going to throw at you here on this show. You can see all of this stuff for yourself with that PFF Plus subscription. So let's get right into it. Sunday Night Football. We had a fun one last night. It was the Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, there were, I feel like, a lot of just different acts, chapters of this game, right? Okay, like things start out well for New England. Lamar Jackson's playing really well, and then Lamar gets hurt. But okay, they start running the ball really well in the second half. Baltimore Ravens get up, but in the end, Patriots win this game 28-24. They clinch a playoff spot. They are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2021. I tweeted afterwards, you know, good for Patriots fans, right? They've been through so much. It's been such a long time coming. So I'm very happy for them finally making the playoffs here. It's just been such a long time coming.
So much trauma they've been through.
I know.
Just so much.
A long-suffering fan base.
4 whole years of nothing. I wonder what only 4 whole years of no results would feel like.
I think Jets fans were the most upset about
even then,
it
was really only 3. They made the playoffs still in Mac Jones' rookie year. 3 years off for New England fans. Wow.
It's true.
Painful. So painful. And now they're back. And, well, you know what? In the AFC, they've got as good a shot to get back to the Super Bowl as anybody.
All joking and sarcasm aside, I am excited to see Drake May in the playoffs because this is still one hell of a football team. The top 5 graded players that we had from Sunday Night Football. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs stepping up when the lights are brightest, as he often does. An 88.6 overall grade. Offensive tackle Thayer Munford with an 88.4. Edge rusher Kayvon Chaisson an 85.7. Offensive tackle Mike Nwenu a 79.7. Wide receiver Kyle Williams with a 79.4. And then Drake May a 69.9. On Baltimore's side of things, tight end Charlie Kolar with an 85.6 overall grade. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, an 82.6. Wide receiver Zay Flowers, a 75.5. Safety Kyle Hamilton, a 74.4. And then Ronnie Stanley rounds it out for him at number 5 with a 74.2. Lamar, before he got hurt in this game, he was a bruised back, I think what I saw.
Yeah, he took a knee in the back.
Took a knee to the back, and that was the official injury designation there for him. He had an 85.6 overall grade before he got hurt. But, Dalton, my stat that told the story in this game was Drake May deep passing. And it's really been something that has been a theme for them all year long. And why this is the stat that told the story and the most impactful stat for me is because we've talked about here on this show when we went back to his sophomore and his junior year, his last 2 years at North Carolina. He led the FBS in big-time throws during that time when he was a full-time starter. So we knew that pushing the ball deep down the field, not only the arm talent, but the mentality, the accuracy, the consistency to be willing to do it was there for Drake May. That's why he's a high draft pick. And last year, he was trying to take in everything, right? As a rookie quarterback, there's so much to learn. There's so much to diagnose. So we didn't see a ton of that last year. This year, we have seen a lot of it. But with deep passing, you worry about it being so hot and cold because there are quarterbacks and offenses around the NFL that man, when the deep passing looks fantastic for them, great. They're winning a lot of football games. But then there are weeks when if that's not what's working for them, sometimes they struggle moving the football. Philadelphia Eagles are one of those teams this year where that could be the case. The Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson during the twilight of Russell Wilson's time with them kind of felt that way. The Packers a little bit this year have felt that way. And with the Patriots, I was getting a little bit worried because I was just like, man, are they really going to be able to attack deep down the field on a weekly basis the way that they want to? And we had a couple of weeks here over the last few weeks where they have started to struggle, and I was like, are they going to get it back before we get to the playoffs for them? And it looks like they have. 91.5 overall passing grade for Drake May when he was passing 20 or more yards down the field. He was 5 for 8, 131 passing yards, had one big-time throw. He was just fantastic in this game, and I think that that's part of what makes him such a clutch quarterback is that he truly can unlock every level of the field at any time. So to me, that was a big stat that told the story for him bouncing back in that regard.
For sure, and I believe it was an 81 passing grade in the fourth quarter of this game. And Drake May, look, say what you want about New England's schedule and how many so-called easy wins they've gotten. He has shown up in big moments this year. You think about the 2 Sunday night football games, first in Buffalo and then here in Baltimore, 2 huge wins that are really the 2 wins that are the difference in them probably winning the AFC East. They just need to win over the Jets this coming week. And then you look at just some other games where you had adversity that he had to work through, right? You think about the Browns game that through the first half of that game was tight, and then he took over in the third quarter. You think about the Bengals game, not as easy as they expected. The Tampa Bay game down in Tampa, right? Drake May has come through and made big plays in big moments all year. And then I find this one the most compelling because it comes on the back of last week when you had the big blown lead against Buffalo, and then he had a shot to retake the lead at the end, and he didn't get it done. For him to get back up off the mat and get back up off the mat in this game, down 11 points late in this game, and you just look at what he has accomplished this season and what he's accomplished in big moments. On top of, look, this is a very young team. There's a mix of veterans like Stephon Diggs, like a Micah Wenu, who step up in a game like this. But Drake May's the leader of this team in his second year in the NFL. He's been clutch all season. And he's, look, again, in this wide open AFC, I think this is really the theme right now throughout the entire league. Normally we get to this point in the year, Trevor, and yes, there's 14 teams that make the playoffs, but usually we can narrow it down to 3 or 4 who are really going to play for a Lombardi trophy. What is it this year? 9? 10?
Yeah,
I mean, when you take both sides, right? Even, we thought the Rams were the best team, but they're looking like, they're going to possibly be a wild card right now, having to go through a road stretch. The AFC is wide open with likely no Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow in the playoff.
Yeah.
When you're looking at New England now, and you're looking at a quarterback who can get them through these types of moments with his back against the wall, they've got as good a shot to win the AFC as anybody. And I think that really is what matters. You've gotten so far everything you wanted out of Drake May in his second season, and a whole lot more, believing like, wow, this guy could win us a championship. And it's because of games like this where you feel like you're never out of it no matter what the score is.
Yeah, I agree. And anytime you have that caliber of a quarterback, you have a chance to win a Super Bowl, especially at the level that he is playing. So to me, that stat was a big deal, not just for winning this game, but also having faith in New England as one of those teams that could get and even win a Super Bowl moving forward. My most impressive was Stephon Diggs. Before the game, they're talking to him about not being on the field as much this year. They've got a diverse group of wide receivers to be able to throw the ball to, different skill sets. They've got a deep tight end room as well. A couple running backs that are very comfortable not only handing the ball off to, but getting involved in the passing game as well. There's just a lot of contributors on this Josh McDaniels and Patriots offense. And because of that, a guy like Stephon Diggs, he's had some takeover games this year, but he's also had games where, he's getting 2 catches, 3 catches, just like it's a more quiet game. And for Diggs, who at one point in time was regarded as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, he even talked about this, how it's been an adjustment for him. And he's like, look, this is just where I'm at in my career. This is where I'm at with this team. I'm just trying to, he kind of was saying, like, I'm not taking it personally that I'm not on the field. He's like, I'm just trying to make the most of my opportunities when my number is called. And when it is a primetime football game, when it is Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, whatever it is, Stephon Diggs just seems to really show up. And in this game, 10 targets, 9 catches, 138 receiving yards. They will need him, right? They've had a really successful season, and there have been points this year where they haven't needed Stephon Diggs. But when you get into the playoffs, they will have moments where they go, okay, we need somebody to target here on third down, on second and long, like in with time winding down in the second quarter, with time winding down in the fourth quarter, like whatever it is, they're going to have to lean on him to be that guy. He hasn't had to be that guy the entire season, but I think there's going to be moments in the playoffs. And again, this was just a great proof of concept to say, like, when we need him to step up in our biggest game, we can. So I loved seeing Stephon Diggs play well in this game. What about you? Who was your most impressive?
Absolutely, and I think to your point about veterans really being the right mix, having the right mix of veterans on this team to lead those young guys, and you've seen it too. Diggs in the Buffalo and Baltimore games, right? You think about Travion Henderson in the Tampa Bay game. You think about Hunter Henry in the game against the Bengals, right? It's been somebody different every week, and then it's kind of been the same case on the offensive line as well, especially with some injuries that they're dealing with. But look at the right guard, Mike Owenu. This guy's been a constant in New England for so long. 86.4 pass blocking grade with no pressures allowed in this game when Drake May had to go back and throw the football with no play action and just trying to bring his team back from 2 scores down with no Will Campbell at left tackle. Morgan Moses gets hurt for a period in this game as well, but Owenu at that guard spot, man, he was the one starter that they brought back this season. He's been a constant for them for a long time, and for this year, one of their most consistent players, deserves a recognition for the work that he does in the trenches.
Anything else on this one? Obviously, the Ravens blowing the lead in the fourth quarter is something that probably a takeaway for them, because it almost feels as though, I mean, is this Harbaugh's last year with the Ravens?
You could ask that. I mean, the two things that have really done them in this year, number one are the injuries, and that showed up again in this game, especially with Lamar Jackson only playing half the game. And two, just the inability to close out certain games, the Buffalo game, all the red zone trips we talked about in the Steelers game, right, that they just didn't take advantage of all the opportunities that they had. You look at this game, an 11-point lead late that got away from them. So I think when you really break down this Ravens season, it is a lot of disappointment. There was a hot stretch in the middle of it, but honestly, 7-8 is about probably right for what they've been all year. They've beaten one team with a winning record. That was the Chicago Bears back in Week 8, and otherwise, they've beaten who they're supposed to, and they're just not able to get over the hump right now. This year, especially offensively, against good teams. So it's been an inconsistent team all year. That was still the case in this game. Now, they still have a chance. They have a pulse, right? They need Cleveland to beat Pittsburgh, which is going to be a tough task, and then they need to beat the Packers, and they can set up a showdown. They're not completely dead yet, but considering all the Steelers have to do is beat the Browns, you don't feel very good about it. So there was some missed opportunities this year for sure, and the Ravens, for most of the year for me, especially offensively, just not as good as they were supposed to be.
It's going to be an interesting offseason when it comes to that Ravens conversation with John Harbaugh as their head coach, because he's been the head coach for so long, and they've obviously had a lot of success there with him. But if there's any question mark about sort of who he is as the leader, as the voice as that everyone hears, as the person that everyone looks up to for the direction, the motivation, the consistency, the discipline, the plan, all of that. I said this on Twitter last night. There's too many really good head coaches right now to settle at head coach. And John Harbaugh, I want to give him his respect for how good of a coach he has been over the last 15 years. In this league and for this organization. But if you wonder if it's sort of time for a change here, just to change, I mean, you have Vrabel in New England. You have Liam Cohen in Jacksonville, DeMeco Ryans with the Texans, what Sean Payton is doing with the Broncos, Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, obviously Andy Reid with the Kansas City Chiefs. But then you get into what Ben Johnson is with the Bears, Matt LaFleur with the Packers, Dan Campbell with the Lions, Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings. There's just basically every team in the end, like so many teams, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDonald, Sean McVay. There's so many good head coaches right now. It's not like there's 3 at the very top, and then you go, well, of course we would love to have. How many years ago was it where it was like, well, of course we'd love to have Belichick or Andy Reid, and it was Kyle Shanahan's probably in the mix there at some point. Sean McVay was probably in the mix there still, but it felt like there were maybe 4-ish coaches at the top where you'd say, these are obvious Super Bowl caliber coaches. We might have 11 Super Bowl caliber coaches in this league right now. And that's too many for you to look at your head coaching situation and, I'll say, settle. And if you think that you are settling, I think that might be making the decision for you. So this isn't just a Ravens thing. It could be for a lot of other teams as well.
I think also more than any time in the past 5 or 6 years, I think Eric DeCosta's got a real tough task in front of him as far as I think he's got to really examine what he has on this roster in certain areas. Okay, the offensive line, this is as average as their offensive line has looked in years. Zay Flowers has over 1,000 receiving yards. Nobody else has more than nobody else has 400.
Every year.
They don't have enough depth, and this year their tight ends were either injured or not as dominant as they've been in the past, right? And they have no pass rush to speak of. Without blitzing, and Drake May was really good at working and navigating around pressure in this game, but look, they have the third worst pass rush grade in the league too. And how many years have we said over and over that the Ravens don't have one dominant pass rusher? They don't have a closer. It's showing up more and more often. So in the trenches, they are not the dominant team that we're used to seeing. And once again, to me, that's a huge factor. Beyond Zay Flowers, I'm not afraid of anybody on the outside. I'm not afraid of Rashad Bateman. We don't get it. We don't see enough of Tez Walker. I get the idea of bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. He's been okay, but he's a role player at this point. Mark Andrews not as dominant as they used to be, and they just signed him to an extension. They need to take a hard look at certain areas of this roster because they are lagging behind. When you talk about being average in the trenches, being very average as a receiving core, and Lamar Jackson, especially if he's compromised, he just can't make up for all of that. I think Eric DeCosta's got a real task on his hands this offseason to look at this roster and see how he can improve it in some key areas.
Let's take it back to Thursday Night Football for this next game. The Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. What an insane thriller this game was, 38-37. The final score here. The Seahawks clinched a playoff spot with this win here. Their top 5 graded players in this game, halfback Kenneth Walker with an 83.3, edge rusher DeMarcus Lawrence an 82.7, defensive tackle Byron Murphy with an 82.5, and then right behind him, defensive tackle Jerron Reed with an 82.2. Rounding things out for their top 5 is Jackson Smith-Njigba with a little bit more of a quiet day, but certainly not when it mattered most with the game on the line in the second half. A 78.4 overall grade there for him. Sam Darnold, 63.2 overall grade, but there's some context there with him that we'll dig into here in a second. On the Rams side of things, wide receiver Puka Nacua with a 92.5 overall grade. Defensive tackle Poona Ford an 89.6. Edge rusher Jared Verse an 80.0. Defensive tackle Kobe Turner 79.2. Then cornerback Josh Wallace at number 5 with a 75.4. Quarterback Matthew Stafford in this game, a 79.9. Dalton, what was your stat that told the story here?
I think for me, the big problem, and there's so many different angles you could take in this game, starting with the fact that these might just be the 2 best teams in football. And we desperately, for the sake of entertainment, need a round 3 between these 2 teams. We've got to see a third matchup in the playoffs here.
I really do want Packers-Bears again, and then Seahawks-Rams again. I don't know if this is possible to set it up like this, but I want the winner of those 2 games to go to the NFC Championship.
And the other one, too, I would, on the other side, I've told you this before, I would love to see Texans-Jags with the way those 2 teams have been playing lately, and I wouldn't even hate a third Bills-Patriots game, man. If we could get some real rubber matches when it comes to the postseason, that could just be outstanding.
If that's the divisional round, like those 4 matchups, the playoffs are going to be so good this year. Anyways, keep going. It's not to tell the story with this.
So the big thing for me that was a huge difference from the first game is that Seattle needed more than just Jackson Smith-Njigba to win this game, right? Obviously, on the other side, Puka Nacua almost single-handedly won this game for the Rams, but Smith-Njigba, like you mentioned, 96 yards, and the touchdown that set up the game-winning 2-point conversion. But the contributions they got elsewhere, first of all, kept them in this game and then eventually won them the game. Kenneth Walker, 164 yards from scrimmage. Zach Charbonnet, 54 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, he had a 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter and a huge catch on the game-winning drive down the sideline. Just an outstanding throw from Darnold and a great catch from him. Rashid Shaheed, right, somebody they acquired at the trade deadline from New Orleans that Clint Kubiak was familiar with, had a big end-around 31-yard run in the fourth quarter, as well as sparking this comeback with the punt return touchdown that brought them then within 30-22. Second time in 3 weeks that a return touchdown for Shaheed has sparked them. A.J. Barner with the big touchdown that ended up obviously tying the game eventually after the wild 2-point conversion on the backwards pass that Zach Charbonnet picked up in the end zone. Pretty much feels like just for fun, just to touch the football, and then it ended up being a 2-point conversion that tied the game. The contributions from everybody else in this supporting cast, right? The fact that they didn't get a 200-yard game from Jackson Smith-Njigba and other guys who are big contributing factors in winning, that's huge to me because there's been so many things said about Smith-Njigba and the percentage of yardage that he has accrued for this Seattle offense. Well, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with one guy. That's not how that's going to work. It's the same reason that the Rams need a healthy Devontae Adams in the playoffs. You're not going to win it with one guy. If you can get contributions like this from the run game with Walker and Charbonnet, from Shaheed, from Cooper Kupp, from A.J. Barner, maybe from Elijah Arroyo at tight end as well, if you can get a more balanced contribution in this offense with Sam Darnold, yeah, he had to gut it out, man, and this is a tough defense to gut it out against, and he got hit at certain points in this game. The pick six to Josh Wallace looked like it was going to be a backbreaker at the time, and he just kept punching. But I think the fact that, just like we talked about with New England, it feels like it's somebody different every week. I think Seattle, if they can get in that groove of it being someone different every week. Yeah, Smith-Njigba is their best player, no question. But can we get more of this out of Walker? Can we get more of this out of Shaheed? Explosive plays, 2 or 3 a game out of Shaheed that can flip the game upside down. More out of A.J. Barner in the passing game again like we had earlier in the year. That, to me, is going to be the difference in Seattle potentially making a Super Bowl run and not. Can they continue to get contributions from the other guys outside of Jackson Smith-Njigba?
Yeah. On another side of the coin, or another side of this argument, I would say, is we were talking about Sam Darnold during the game. You and I were texting during this game, and the first half of the game, Sam Darnold really struggled, and it was what you pointed out in the preview show, where what is he like versus these two high coverages? Is he able to attack this the way that he needs to? And in the first half, he didn't. Him and Clint Kubiak, it felt like they were just sort of figured out. He only had 72 yards passing in the first half, 0 turnover-worthy plays, 0 big-time throws. And on those 72 passing yards, just 14.6 of them were through the air. So a lot of even the small production that Sam Darnold had was not from his own arm. It was from guys getting yards after the catch. And so he was struggling. He wasn't seeing things confidently. He wasn't ready to pull the trigger. He was sort of figured out in that first half. And I wondered if that was going to be the story of him the whole game. If it was just going to be a bad Darnold game, we were going to go, all right, well, bad Darnold game. I guess we'll move on and see if we get better the next time out. Second half and overtime, so much different from him. Now, he had, I guess I'll just read the stats here, 189 passing yards in the second half and in overtime, so much different than just 72. He had 2 big-time throws and 2 turnover-worthy plays, but 64.5% of those near 200 passing yards were through the air. He was doing it with his arm, which was great to see. Now, I will say, of the 2 turnover-worthy plays, one of them, bad throw, was the one that went straight to the linebacker. I can't remember who it was. That was his second interception. The first one, though, there are some turnover-worthy plays and interceptions that you have where you do have to remember that the guys on the other side do get paid as well. And that was the play where the Rams are lined up in single high, true single high. Everyone else is at the line of scrimmage or in press coverage. It completely looks like man coverage. And in fact, they had pre-snap motion that brought a wide receiver from one side of the field to the other, and the defender shadowed him, trailed him, followed him to the other side. That's almost always that's the tip. That's why pre-snap motion can be so advantageous for you, because not only do you get, there's a good look at the safeties. We're going to see what happens when this guy motions from this side of the field to the other. Do these safeties come up and back? Do they both go back? What happens with them? So you get a good look at the safety, but you also get a good look at the cornerbacks. If he's following him, well, guess what? He's probably, almost 99% of the time, he's going to be in man coverage. So they're running a double slant concept where they're just trying to clear out the inside guy to get the outside slant, an open window to be able to throw that. Darnold loads it up, sees it, throws it with great timing, and then what happens? That slot defender's in zone. They're in zone. It was one of those things. It was one of those interceptions where I just go, oh, that was sick. I don't know how else to say it other than to give credit to the defense. So outside of that turnover-worthy play, which is obviously bad for them because it was a pick six, but outside of that interception, he had the one that he wished that he got back. But so much of that second half and overtime, I felt like Darnold was confident and dealing, and more than that, was able to make a mental and physical adjustment in the second half, which I think has been a void of Dalton throughout most of his career.
And even that second one that you mentioned, that was a pressure look where you remember who caught the second interception?
Who was it?
It's Kobe Turner.
Oh, it was
Kobe Turner dropping into coverage, and he basically threw it right in his chest because you're like, okay,
I thought it was a linebacker.
Who's expecting Kobe Turner to drop off on this spot on the goal line like this? So I mean, you mentioned it. Chris Shula has been great calling great pressures, especially against the Seahawks team in both of these games. But no, I mean Darnold, his ability to punch back, and then I think they started to see more of the single high looks that they wanted to because this was one of the Seahawks' best rushing days. It was so important for them in this game, even though they were down 30-14, and a lot of the rushing production was earlier, but it was so important just for the look and getting back into neutral situations for Kenneth Walker to have the day that he did. And for this team to run for 171 yards, their second highest total of the season. This team, if they do find balance, right, at both schematically run and pass and more balance with their supporting cast with these contributions, they can go all the way. They just can't be so just deep ball dependent, kind of like you talked about with Drake May before, and so dependent on Jackson Smith and Jigba to make the explosive plays for them. The more well-rounded this team is in the postseason, the further they will go. If they lose, if and when they lose at some point, if they lose in the NFC playoffs, it's going to be because it's just too much of number 11, Smith and Jigba, and not enough of everybody else. But getting 170 rushing yards on this defense, that's a big step forward. If they can keep that up, that's going to matter because then when you talk about the 12 personnel, the multiple tight end sets you talk about with Seattle's offense all season, their ability to take deep shots against single high when teams are in base defenses, they're beating up linebackers in the passing game. The more that you can run the football, the more effectively you can run the football, the more dangerous you become in the passing game. That's the balance Seattle's trying to find. They found it in this game. It took them a while. They had to get through some adversity against a great team. But they found a way to get it done. And again, it's because they had balance in this game. They were not going to win this game with just Jackson Smith and Jigba going for 150 or whatever he's capable of. They need all of those threats on offense to be there on a more consistent basis.
My most impressive in this game is Puka Nacua. I mean, what more are we supposed to say about Nacua at this point? 16 targets, 12 receptions, 225 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, had a long 58-yard catch in this game. He's been the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. When he's been on the field, he's been the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. He is in that same situation that you just talked about with Seattle, where it feels like at times there's too much Nacua, but on Seattle's side of things too, like it feels like there's too much Jackson Smith and Jigba, and yet these guys continue to deliver. It's unbelievable how. We just talked about this with the Ravens, right, in the game that we previewed right before, or that we recapped right before this one, where we just go, it's just Zay Flowers. Like, they have Zay Flowers and nobody else. And we're sitting here kind of having the same conversation with these two teams where, not for this game, but for the majority of the season, it's been just Jackson Smith and Jigba. And for a lot of the season, like, sometimes it just feels like it's just Puka Nacua. These teams are 12-3 and 11-4. And it's because these guys are so damn good.
Well, it's yes, but the Rams, this is the part where if they're going to win a Super Bowl, they will need Devontae Adams.
Yeah. I think so. I agree.
They have
with
Adams,
you.
And they have gotten solid production from their tight ends, and they've run the football a lot better.
The Rams are much more of a complete passing offense than Seattle is. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, the big moments are pretty much one guy for each one of these teams, and the fact that their records sit here and say 11-4 and 12-3 just goes to show you how good these players are, because they have showed up every single time they've needed them. Nakua's last 3 games are insane. Nakua's got like over 150 yards, I think, in each of the last 3 games. It's unbelievable. Everybody knows where the ball is going. It's going to Nacua. You can't do anything about it. That's when you start talking about one of the best receivers in the NFL.
No, absolutely. I mean, and again, it just speaks to all these talented guys they both have, and superstar players and quarterbacks playing really well. It's what makes you want to see a third one. The first one was theater, more so in a little bit more of a defensive slugfest. This one was theater just for all, and I just keep thinking about just all of the events that led to the outcome of this game. You think about the 2-point conversion, right? And I don't feel for anybody more than Jared Verse. He does everything he can. He bats down the pass. He thinks, okay, I preserve the lead here, and then it's a backwards pass and it's a 2-pointer. The almost Ernest Jones interception, the Puka Nacua, the big touchdown, obviously in overtime when you're like, man, this guy's just unstoppable. You can't cover him at all. And then Darnold working back to his check down on the 2-point conversion to win it to Eric Saubert. Like, who caught the winning 2-point conversion? Eric Saubert,
right?
Really, the third tight end on this team. I mean, it was such great football played on both sides of this game, and I would kill to see a round.
Hope we
3.
get it again.
I'm telling you, I'd kill to see a round 3 at any point in the playoffs.
Another round 3 that I would love to have is Packers-Bears. Bears end up winning this game 22-16. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Chicago Bears in this game. Offensive guard Joe Thuney with an 86.6. Edge rusher Montez Sweat with an 82.8. Cornerback Nashawn Wright, an 82.3. Wide receiver DJ Moore, the hero catching that final Caleb Williams pass, which we'll talk about here in a second, an 81.1. Offensive tackle Ozzie Trapillo with a 79.5. Caleb Williams, a 74.0 overall grade. On Green Bay side of things, center Sean Ryan with an 82.2. Wide receiver Romeo Dobbs with an 81.5. Safety Xavier McKinney, a 68.5. Halfback Emmanuel Wilson with a 67.5. They needed him when Josh Jacobs just was not himself in this game. Tight end John Fitzpatrick with a 67.4. And then Malik Willis, who came in for Jordan Love in this game, a 65.4 overall grade. Dalton, what was your stat that told the story?
The Bears just keep finding ways. They just keep finding ways to get it done. I mean, is it now, what is it, six games now? I think the most since the merger where they've trailed in the final 2 minutes and won. They just keep finding.
They have that many?
I believe the number is 6. They've trailed in the final 2 minutes in 6 of their wins this season. I mean, you just call him Cardiac Caleb, man. I mean,
that's special stuff from a quarterback perspective. Yes, like Caleb's got to get it done, but just head coach perspective.
It's Ben Johnson.
Just and even less of the X's and O's and more of just you have your guys mentally ready, mentally confident to be ready to execute when you couldn't have more pressure on the line every single time. So that is just what an incredible Ben Johnson stat that is.
And that's exactly right. Because what's always the question when an elite coordinator becomes a head coach? It's not the play calling. It's not. We know Ben Johnson's an elite play caller. You could argue he's the best play caller in the NFL right now. It's about, okay, can you be the leader of an entire squad now, right? On both sides, really all 3 phases of the game when you think about also getting it done on special teams with the onside kick. And for a team like this, who's been downtrodden for quite a while, right? They haven't made the playoffs since, 2020, I believe it was. You're talking about a team that hasn't even made the Super Bowl in 20 years. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 40 years. And you're just trying to get this team, this franchise, this city to believe this is how you do it. That's really what Ben Johnson has brought to this team more than anything. And then you look at what he's brought to his quarterback. And it's been bumpy at times. Caleb Williams is not perfect by any means. When you look at him through the first 3 quarters of this game, not great. 50.1 passing grade, 8 of 13, 107 yards. There's times where the passing game still needs some work, and he's a young kid, essentially in a second rookie season with a new coach. But fourth quarter and overtime, 74.2 passing grade, 80 rushing grade, 2 carries for 21 yards. And he can make plays that very few quarterbacks in this league can make. And the high end of that and how often they get that is going to determine how far they can go in the playoffs. They have constants on their team, and it's really 2 things. Number 1 is the run game and this offensive line and the way they dominate on the ground. And 2, they force turnovers on defense. It's kind of the same as Caleb. It's not the most consistent defense, but they make the high-end plays happen, and they force turnovers when they really need to. Got another big one down by the goal line in this game to make a stop, and the Packers were 0 for 5 in the red zone. That's another conversation.
Right.
But this game just defines this Bears season and what this new era of Bears football is. They're never out of it. They've got the coach, they've got the O-line, they've got enough weapons, and they've got the quarterback who, in big moments this year, has been unreal. He's got an 80 PFF grade in the fourth quarter and overtime of games since Week 9, top 5 in the NFL. He's been one of the most clutch quarterbacks in football for the last 2 months, and he did it again in this game. I don't know if you want to just get into the throw itself right now, because, look, I threw out a tweet because I needed to see. I was like, what did we grade this throw? And actually what sparked it, that I had to look at it was you tweeted, like, right after it happened, that's the throw of the year.
Yes.
Right? And I was like, oh, wait, I have to see if it's a throw of the year. Because so we have for those, and I tweeted about this, and I got a ton of response about what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, what we're getting at here is, so Caleb Williams, we have our +2 to -2 grade scale, right? With all in half-point increments. So basically there's 9 different outcomes you can get. The most often one is 0, a neutral, whatever play, right? +2, the highest possible grade on the scale, reserved for like special generational plays, okay? And as far as +2 throws that get the highest grade possible, it's only been 30 other throws that got this grade in the history of PFF. 20 years we've been doing this. We've graded every preseason, regular season, postseason game. Only 30 other throws in the NFL have gotten a +2. This was number 31, and we did not have another one yet this season that got a +2. Essentially, you were right when you tweeted that. This was the throw of the year, right? I mean, he launches this thing 55, almost 60 yards in the air.
Yep.
Next Gen Stats said there was a half yard of separation. I don't even know where that was, because
you're right.
You could argue
Right.
You could argue DJ Moore was interfered with.
I felt like, no, I think he was. I think Keyshawn Nixon gets him a little bit before the ball arrives. Like, that was even, not that you would call pass interference on what that play was. Like, it was just really, really good coverage. I don't know how you could cover it any better outside of maybe having a half step forward, maybe where you could get your eye on it and you could bat it away or something. But outside of that, I don't know if you could play that any better.
It's an unreal throw. It is. I mean, we have big time throws, but then this is like I said, general. There's only been 30 other throws in the history of PFF. I mean, some famous. I've been actually getting some people asking me, "Hey, can we get a thread of all 30 of those ones?" There's some old ones that I gotta dig through and really find the tape.
That might be some good off-season content.
Absolutely, like some off the top of my head. Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Remember the Eli Manning throw to Mario Manningham in the second one?
Did you just ask me if I remember?
Well, this is the point, is these types of throws, like right now, if I tell you, hey, remember the Caleb Williams throw? It's going to be this one.
It's going to be this throw.
Even maybe 5-10 years from now, it's going to be this one that literally changed the direction of the Bears franchise. I think about, what's another one? Aaron Rodgers, remember to Jared Cook against the Cowboys? Leading them down in the playoffs. Rolling to his left.
Oh.
Toe tap on the sideline.
Yes.
That one, that's one of them. The Anthony Richardson throw last year, you already know. That one.
That might have been just the most physically talented, one of the most physically talented throws of all time. Because wasn't that 70 yards in the air, 65 yards in the air?
That
was
one,
unbelievable.
There was 3 last year. There was that one. There was a Jaden Daniels throw, I think, against the Browns, where he escaped, rolled out to his right, and hit McLaurin 55 yards.
There were a lot of good Jaden Daniels throws last year, so I believe
that was and then what was the third one? Oh, remember that just nuke that Bo Nix dropped on the Bengals to Marvin Mims?
Yes.
That one got, because that was 65 yards
Crazy
in the air or something
too.
So these are the types that you're talking about. And Caleb Williams, I'm telling you, 10 years from now, we could just say, hey, remember that Caleb Williams throw? And it'll be this one. And especially if it was even if at some point in the process, because I know we had several people talking about this behind the scenes, all the high-end graders, because anytime we get a possibility that it could be a +2, this is like a group decision that we have to make. And if there was any borderline thought, it was also the game winner.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the few times where we actually will be like,
and here's the thing, it being a 2, I wanted you to break down that because you've come up through that side of the company with grading and everything. You know exactly what goes into this being categorized as one of the best throws that we've ever graded. When I said that this was throw of the year, it was all of that and so much more of why I said that this was throw of the year. Because when I tweeted that out, I got a lot of responses. One, because there's a lot of people that just like to hate on Caleb Williams because he's Caleb Williams. And so I knew that there would be a lot of people not happy with it anyways. But I saw a lot of people who were like, what's so special about this throw? One, I wanted you to lay out what's so special about this throw because it was all there. But on top of that, you take into it being one of the biggest rivalries in the sport between the Bears and the Packers, right? You talk about winner of this game has driver's seat for the division and maybe the number 1 seed in the playoffs. You talk about this game being a primetime game. You talk about this being an overtime. You talk about this being a game winner. This is a 3-point at the buzzer. You hit it, game's over type of a throw. The wind in this game, the magnitude of everything that it meant. There was so much context of the throw and around the throw that made this, in my opinion, the throw of the year. There was just so much to revel and enjoy. And it's so funny, J47 in the chat's like, it was asking you, hey, is that PJ Walker to DJ Moore throw another two?
That's one of them. Yep.
How crazy is it that DJ Moore's on the end of 2 of these throws?
I actually need to look that up.
There's no way a receiver's got 2 of them.
I don't know if anyone else has ever caught 2. I need to dig in and look again. Actually, no, I know. Because you know so Patrick Mahomes leads all time. Of the 31 that I mentioned, 31 plus 2 throws, Mahomes has 4 of them, which is silly. And I believe all 4 of them are to Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I believe that.
Like, here's example. I think it was 2018 or 19. I forget which year, against the Ravens. Remember that just silly throw back across his body on 4th and I don't even hardly have to describe it. Where it's like that nobody else would even try, and he made it. I think Tyreek Hill, I'm pretty sure he caught all 4 of those, which is just silly. Mahomes has 4, and there's 3 other players that have 2. I can't think of off the top of my head.
I feel like Rodgers got to be one of them.
I think he might be.
Yeah.
Rodgers might have 2. I think Ryan Tannehill had 2 of them for some reason.
See, this is going to be great off-season content when we get to this.
I was digging through the whole list, just going through and going back on the ones we have tape on. We've got like the last 10 or 12 years worth of tape. And then there's some others that I know just jump out. Like I said, Ben Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes. Like, it's those throws that you're just like, I don't even. It's basically a category of throw that's pretty close to impossible.
Yeah.
At least for a normal person. And Caleb Williams, as we know, the arm talent, he's not a normal arm talent, and this is the idea behind why he was so hyped as a prospect in the first place.
So 2 things. One, I forgot another piece of context that you would add to this that also makes it the throw of the year. The fact that he threw an interception as the last throw in Green Bay 2 weeks ago, right? Where
Keyshawn Nixon.
For normal people, that's in your head, right? I mean, like, you had an opportunity. I can't remember who it was who was in the end zone for them, but like
Kmet, I think Cole Kmet that day.
They're sitting there wide open in the end zone. You flick it to him, and Keyshawn Nixon just goes right underneath it and picks it off. There it is. Game over. Boom. Done.
And
so 2 weeks later, you tell me at home on prime time with everything on the line, with the wind the way that it is, winner gets the division, winner gets the 1 seed, or at least the front seat for it, the driver's seat for it. Everything that was on the line in that game, and he put it in the bucket, and it was unbelievable. So the other thing that I was going to say in this one is I had another tweet on Saturday night where I said, like, the talent ceiling of Caleb Williams, just as somebody who does a lot of scouting, is about as high as you can get.
Yep.
And when I see that throw and all the context that goes into it and how much I have watched Caleb Williams grow as a quarterback this year, I think that we've arrived with him hitting that talent ceiling. Now, that's not to say that the work is done consistency-wise, right? A lot of people quickly pointed out, they're like, okay, well, he plays bad for 3 quarters, and now he hits 1 throw, and all of a sudden he's arrived. What I'm trying to say is that the ceiling that we thought Caleb Williams could have in the NFL, we're seeing it this year. He is being more aware of when he needs to throw the ball away. He isn't putting it in his harm's way as much as he has in the past. He is changing how he plays the quarterback position, and yet he's still giving you throws like that. We've reached the ceiling of Caleb Williams being able to do what we thought was possible for him in the NFL. Does he still have inconsistencies? Yes. I'm not saying that he is here as this perfect, now he is Tom Brady type of a player. But the ceiling of what you might get out of Caleb Williams every week, I think there's now a legitimate chance that this guy, every single time he goes out there, can be special. Because I think that's what we're seeing this year.
That's essentially what Josh Allen was in year 2. Where the Bills, they were up and coming. Mm-hmm. They made the playoffs, and you remember they lost the wild card game in Houston, right? And there were moments where Josh Allen looks like an absolute freak of nature. And there's other moments where he still had to do the normal things a little more properly. That's right where we're at with Caleb Williams right now. If this is the track we're going on, and what a job Ben Johnson has done coaching him, it's a lot like year 2 Josh Allen. Just before they got Stephon Diggs. It was that year when they had John Brown and some other guys, and Allen was starting to figure out just how good he was. it's starting to feel like that's where we are with the Bears. So in summary, for those who want me to just, because I got a lot of, okay, so what does that mean? It means it's one of the greatest throws that we've ever seen.
Yep.
And in 20 years of grading these throws, one of the 31 best throws that we've ever seen.
Really quick, just to wrap this up on this game, Packers, you mentioned, go 0 for 5 in the red zone, 0 for 3 in goal-to-go situations. And yet still, even with that being the case, this was their game to lose. Romeo Doubs catches that onside kick. None of this ever happens, and we don't get it. And so this was absolutely a game where I saw somebody in the comments say this, and I agree. No, you don't take anything away from what the Bears did. This throw should have never happened. Just go get the onside kick. And handle any of your business on any of the 5 red zone opportunities that you have. And this game we don't even get this throw. We're not even having this conversation. Yeah. So this was a game that got away from the Packers. And for the Packers, it just kind of feels like, of course, like with all the injuries they already have on their roster, you go down Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs very clearly was, barely 60% in this game? I mean, he suited up, but he was not the Josh Jacobs that he even was last week. So that was an issue for them. I just thought it's been too much for Green Bay, and they really just, I think, have to mentally and try as much as they can physically to hit reset with these 2 games left as they get into the playoffs here.
Assuming they do so, but the injuries are a problem. Zach Tom, you have Sean Ryan playing center.
What's their percentage to make the playoffs? They above 50.
They just need one more win.
They
play Baltimore this week and then Minnesota, but the number of injuries they have, one of those wins may have to come with Malik Willis.
Right.
So not that they haven't done it before, but it's getting harder, and it's getting harder with all these injuries to envision the Packers for as many teams as are Super Bowl contenders. It's getting harder to feel that with the Packers, just with all the injuries.
Eagles-Commanders is our other Saturday night game here. Eagles win this one 29-18 was the final score. Philadelphia's side of things, cornerback Cooper DeJean was their top-graded player with an 84.8. Cornerback Quinyon Mitchell right behind him with an 80.3. Jordan Davis, their defensive tackle, with an 80.1. Running back Saquon Barkley with a 78.9. And then A.J. Brown rounded things out at number 5 with a 78.3. Quarterback Jalen Hurts with a 65.4 overall grade. On Washington side of things, running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., their top-graded player with a 76.4. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, a 76.3. Wide receiver Traylon Burks with a 75.0. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin, 74.9. Cornerback Tyler Biadasz. Center Tyler Biadasz with a 71.3. They're not that thin at corner yet. Quarterback Marcus Mariota with a 71.8 overall grade. Stat to tell the story, Dalton.
Philadelphia, when you talk about the balance they had, especially this game was kind of a slow burn. The passing game was a little bit up and down for them, but the fact that they ran the football well, this was really, to me, their second best rushing day of the year beyond that second Giant game that Saquon Barkley just teed off in. 207 rushing yards, 90.6 rushing grade is their highest of the season as a team. 136 yards after contact. They held the ball for 34 minutes. I think it was definitely a slow burn, and it took them really until the fourth quarter to take this game over. But A.J. Brown was really good on the outside. But their ability to run the football on this Washington team, and obviously a very much so a struggling defense, made a big difference in this game. I think, honestly, I know Saquon had a great day. I think we should even see a little more Tank Bigsby. When he's gotten carries too, he's been really good running the football for this team. I think they can mix it up a little bit more and use both of them a little bit more. But 7 explosive runs, and the big stat for me, when this team runs for at least 100 yards, they're 7-1.
Right.
They need balance in this offense. They don't need Jalen Hurts to try to carry the offense because that's not how it's worked all year. The fact that they were dominant on the ground in this game, I think, was the real separator between the two teams.
I agree. 24 carries for Saquon, 132 rushing yards, 3 rushes of 10 or more yards, which is big because we've talked about Saquon having volume this season, not as much volume as in the past, but still having a decent amount of volume this year. It's not like they're not trying to run the football. They just haven't been explosive doing it. And they've had injuries and they're shifting guys around the offensive line, which I think is a big reason of what goes into that. But Barkley, 5 missed tackles forced on his explosive runs. I mean, this was sort of vintage what you would want to see from the Philadelphia Eagles offense the way that it is currently constructed. So it was good to see that. You and I have talked about if we don't see that from them before the postseason begins, you start getting nervous that they're just going to be able to turn it on and become the team that they need to become. They were able to do that against the Commanders in a pretty convincing win here. Eagles clinching the NFC East, so we know that they're hosting at least one playoff game there. Jordan Davis was my most impressive. Dude, how good is this dude, man? 85.0 run defense grade in this game, 6 tackles, He leads all defensive tackles in tackles this year.
He's a brick wall.
He has 43 tackles this season. I remember watching, when I was scouting Jordan Davis, he was what is he? 6'6", 365 pound, just mountain in the middle. And when he was at Georgia, I think he had on a little bit more weight than he needed to. But they were playing him at that nose tackle spot where they just were like, okay, well, you take up at least 2 blockers, sometimes 3, and we'll let Jalen Carter tee off on whatever poor soul has to guard him one-on-one in the trenches. And I think even Davis in his current state there at Georgia, I had as a top 15 overall type of player because of how difference-making he was. They have done such a great job in Philly at reshaping and retooling his body and his size where this dude moves now. I mean, you don't lead the league in tackles for a defensive tackle just by being big. You got to be light on your feet, relatively speaking. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to stack and shed. You got to be able to control your offensive lineman, peek into the backfield, and if they're going left or right, you got to be able to move left or right to get in front of them. It blows my mind how good of an athlete Jordan Davis is at 360, 370 pounds. It's just incredible to watch him play the way that he does. So this is another game where it was fun to watch him be that kind of a player.
It gives off the same level of impact in this defense as DJ Reader has done in so many spots, right? In Houston, in Cincinnati, here in Cincinnati especially, the way that he frees up everybody else, right? Because Jalen Carter and Moro Ajomo are known more so as pass rushers, right? Especially Carter. And then Davis' ability to eat those double teams and free up the linebackers, a great group of linebackers behind him. This is the type of defensive tackle that makes everybody else better. So those guys, look, sometimes it can be hard to recognize those guys. Now this year, because like you mentioned, if he's leading the position in tackles, you go, wow, that guy's really making plays on the ball. So it can be a little more, outward and easier to notice. But he's been doing this for really every year of his career now, where he just makes everybody around him better. That's big time. I'll tell you another guy who makes everybody around him better. Cooper DeJean, man. I mean,
stud.
Finished last season as the highest graded corner in football. Really hasn't slowed down at all. 90.7 coverage grade in this game. Targeted 10 times, allowing just 4 catches for 32 yards, an interception, 2 pass breakups, and now a little bit more in each game when the Eagles want to get in a base defense or go 5 defensive linemen. He's playing outside just a little bit. It's a little bit more that Trent McDuffie kind of, or even Devin Witherspoon kind of fluid role where, you know what, DeJean has to be on the field at all times, whether that's outside or inside. And I think that's going to be an interesting story going into the playoffs is masking that second outside cornerback spot. How much can they put DeJean out there? How much can they not expose an Adoree Jackson, right, who's probably the biggest weakness on their defense right now? But the fluid nature of DeJean's game, his ability to play from anywhere and produce from anywhere, it makes him one of the best players in football. Even in just his second year, he is absolutely one of the best corners in football right now.
I would agree with you. This Eagles team is going to be fun if they can figure it out and be more consistent heading into the playoffs. I mean, I know that I don't feel like anybody's really taking them seriously given the other teams that are in the AFC or in the NFC that are making a lot of noise. But when they play like this, you can't forget about the Super Bowl champs, as weird as it is to say that. All right, Panthers fans, you're next. We're getting to Bucs-Panthers coming up next. But before we do that, got to show you all a little video showing off the new PFF player prop tool, which you can get on the app and over at .com. Check it out. We'll see you for Bucs-Panthers on the other side.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.
All right, back here for another game. We're talking about Bucs, Panthers. Panthers, huge win, taking the top of the NFC South here, making things very interesting. Now, if the Bucs were to have won this game, they wouldn't have locked up the division, but it would have been tough because the Panthers now play the Seahawks, the Bucs go to play the Miami Dolphins, and then both of these teams meet again in Week 18. If Tampa would have ended up winning this game, it would have made it a very big uphill climb for Carolina to defeat the Seattle Seahawks, although they've beaten the Los Angeles Rams. So they've got some big wins this season.
They beat Green Bay and Lambeau. Don't put anything past this Panthers team.
But none of that happened, and I got to give the Panthers their credit here for defending home field, winning this game against the Buccaneers. 23-20 was the final score. Very tight back and forth game, though, the entire game. The top 5 graded players that we had for the Carolina Panthers: wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan with an 85.3 at the top of their list. Cornerback Mike Jackson, 81.4. Offensive tackle Taylor Moton with a 78.3. Edge rusher Nick Scorton, a 77.9. Safety Lathan Ransom with a 75.6. And then Bryce Young, a 91.6 in this game. On Tampa Bay side of things, offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs with a 90.3. Running back Bucky Irving, an 83.0. Edge rusher Yaya Diaby with an 80.7. Cornerback Jacob Parrish with a 75.2. Linebacker Travassier Dennis with a 69.5. Baker Mayfield in this game, a 74.7. Stat told the story, Dalton.
I really, really like that Dave Canales put this game in Bryce Young's hand.
I do too.
For better or worse, it had to be done. Because against this Bucs team, if you just walk out there and you run it on first down and you run it on second down and it's 3rd and 6, and then you let Todd Bowles get in all the blitz packages when he wants to, you have a problem, right? Because then he can really set up things in that sort of sequence. Broke the sequence. I believe it was the first 4 plays of the game. They threw the football. There was an end around. There was some different things, and they settled for a field goal on their first drive. But I thought that set the tone for the game of, listen, Bryce, you want to win a division? This one's going to be on you.
Do it.
And I would expect the next 2 games to be the same way as well. Not that they can't run the ball, and the Panthers have run the ball well all year. But the difference in them, if they're going to go to the postseason, is whether or not Bryce Young plays. Now, this was a hell of a level. He got 91.6 grade. You're the best player on the field. That's a hell of a level to play at right there in a game like this. But something like this has to happen. And the big one in this game is when Todd Bowles sent pressure at him, which he is going to do. As we know, that's what Todd Bowles does because the Bucs can't pressure with just 4.
Right.
Can you beat the blitz? Bryce Young beat the blitz in this game. 90.7 passing grade, 8 of 12, 93 yards. The touchdown just before the end of the first half, which at this point, I think there was 12 seconds left. The Panthers were on the 22-yard line. Mm-hmm. So even if you were to get a sack, they're solidly in field goal range. Okay, let's say they'd hit a 48 to 50-yarder. Mm-hmm. I watched him for 4 years as the Jets head coach. He's been the Bucs DC slash head coach for a long time. I still to this day don't know the rhyme or reason to when or why Todd Bowles decides to send heavy pressure. Because in that spot, and he was in Tampa too, the entire rest of that drive, I'm talking about the drive for the Panthers right before the end of the first half that ended up in a Tetairoa McMillan touchdown. The entire drive, cover 2, keep it in front of us. If they get to field goal range, we'll still have, I think, a 10-9 lead, even if they hit one. And then with 12 seconds left at the 22-yard line, I believe it was, he decides, let's run 0 and let's leave McMillan out there.
Well, I don't think they had timeout, so if they get sacked, it's over. Not that I'm really defending him because it didn't work and I don't really agree with it either. But I think that was the thought process: is that if you catch him off guard, if you sack him, that's it. The half's over. I don't think they had a timeout. And
take that chance of a one-on-one with McMillan. I just That single play call to me was actually the biggest play of the game. And I know eventually it got to 20-20 and the Panthers had to drive down anyway. And again, blitzing on that last drive, Bryce made an incredible throw to Jalen Coker down the right sideline to set up the game-winning field goal. That one before the end of the first half, I cannot for the life of me. I don't know the rhyme or reason to when he does or doesn't blitz. Because last week at the end against Atlanta, when the blitz was absolutely working and then he stopped, that cost him the game. And now this, where it's like, okay, we're going to go Tampa 2 this whole drive, keep it in front of us, go to halftime with the lead regardless, and then you decide with 10, 12 seconds left to go, sure, let's make it easy on him and throw this 6'5" freak a jump ball. That part kills me, but either way, you still have to beat it. Bryce Young beat the blitz because you're always going to get it from Todd Bowles anytime you play against him. He's going to send pressure in the biggest moments of the game, and Bryce Young's ability, through all the adversity he's been through in his career so far, his ability to come out and play his best football in a game like this, that's really the story. It really, more than anything. And they got big stops when they needed, especially at the end, and Baker Mayfield with the mistake. But this was you could argue there's been a few signature Bryce Young games. Boy, this one might be number one.
I agree, especially because of the way that you set it up. And this is Bryce's, I believe, I was watching a video of Canales when he was talking after the game, and I think he said that this is Bryce's 12th career game-winning drive that he had in his career, which is great. I think that we talked about this in the preview show, and we talked about it a little bit just throughout the week, how the Panthers don't pass the ball on first down. They were 31st. You mentioned, I think you mentioned this on the Wednesday show. They were 31st in pass rate on first down. And yet, even on top of that, they never even really ran play action on first down either. They were very much like, we're running the football on first down. And I was on a couple of different podcasts and things talking with Panthers fans this week. And a lot of them, when we talked about the game, they're like, well, the Panthers are going to want to establish the run. And every single time, I would say, yeah, they want to establish the run, but at the same time, this is the matchup where you don't do that. This is the matchup where, Tampa's bad in coverage. Tampa's bad over the middle. Tampa's bad just in defense kind of in general right now. They're just not in a good place. So it actually is more advantageous to you to be more aggressive in this game than almost any other. And I love the fact that not only do they put more on Bryce Young's plate, like you mentioned, that they identified this specific opponent to be the ones where it was like, okay, this is a game where we don't overly establish the run on first down. And I think them having that self-awareness is really important. And I loved that from Canales and what they were able to do on that side of the ball. You want to say something about that?
Just wanted to pull. I pulled it up real quick for this week. So the Panthers, 65% pass on first down in this game.
Fantastic.
Fourth highest in the league. And the three teams ahead of them, Detroit, Denver, New England, all behind by 2 scores in those games. So kind of jacks up the think about the Panthers. Right. Basically, this entire game was in neutral situations.
Yep.
And yet they did come out and get aggressive. And it was a complete change up from what they've done the rest of the – and really, again, what cost them the game last week against the Saints, especially with a lead, was being too conservative.
Yes.
They came out from the very first play of this game, and they put it in Bryce Young's hands. And now moving forward into the rematch in a couple weeks, which is very likely going to matter. It's going to be the season on the line for both teams. Mm-hmm. You put that in the Bucs' heads now. You put it in Todd Bowles. Do we sit back more on first down? Then you get back with the tight ends and running the football. And maybe the next game, then you go back to the usual sequence. Mm-hmm. And you feel like in neutral situations, you have to put defenses in that bind. They did that in this game. I give Canales a whole lot of credit for that.
I do too. Carolina had the game plan that you needed to win this game, and it was great to see the young guys step up. Nick Scourton stepped up in this game. Latham Ransom obviously got the interception to seal it at the end. Prince Human Mielen was a factor in this game. Tet is Rookie of the Year, man. I mean, he's a stud. He's awesome. So the young guys stepping up, I think, was huge. On the Bucs side of things, I think their lack of pressure told the whole story in this game. 22 pressures in this game, only a 56.3% passers win percentage. It was 22 pressures, which actually isn't bad, and a 56.3% passers win percentage is winning one-on-one at actually a decent clip. That's not terrible. However, you had that kind of success, and Bryce Young's time to throw average was still almost 3 seconds, and you had a half a sack to speak of in this game, and that half sack came on one play where Levante David and Savasier Dennis both blitzed and overloaded the offensive line and were able to corral Bryce Young when his initial read was not open. You got to have finishers, man. I mean, that is just it is going to be a major, major talking point for the Buccaneers this year, because I think when you look at this roster, there are reasons of injury and reasons of roster construction where it feels as though everybody is having to punch up a level above where they should. Fans, they critique Yaya Diaby. Well, Yaya Diaby's not getting the sacks. He's not the sack master we thought he was going to be. When has he ever been? That's not really ever been his game. He's a bigger power rusher who's going to be somebody who's going to be able to hold the line of scrimmage for you and somebody who's going to be able to collapse the pocket for you with pressures, not necessarily sacks. He had 10 pressures in this game. He had an above a 30% pass win percentage in this game. You can't ask more from this guy. And you could say, like, well, I'd like for some of those pressures to turn into sacks. Yeah, so would I. Being able to take a pressure and then cleanly get off a block so quickly and decisively that the quarterback doesn't have time to react is a skill. That is a finishing skill, and the Bucs don't have that player. The only player who I think gives them that ability is maybe Hassan Reddick sometimes, but he's not even the rusher that he used to be, Kalijah Kancey. And Kancey's played 2 games for them this year. So now you have Yaya Diaby, and you're asking him to be an edge one sack master for you when that's never what he was going to be. You're asking these defensive tackles to be pressure players for you when that's never what they were going to be. You're asking Jamel Dean to be a CB1 for you when he's not a CB1. You ask Zion McCollum to be a CB1 for you when he was in spurts, but not the majority of his career. You're asking rookies, Jacob Parrish, Benjamin Morrison, to like step up in rookie year. Like, it's just, you're asking Savasier Dennis, a 5th round day 3 linebacker, to not just be a starting linebacker for you basically be LB1, because Levante David doesn't have it in the tank anymore. You're asking all of these players on defense. Again, some of this is a roster construction issue, some of it's an injury issue. But almost at every point of the defense for the Buccaneers, you are asking somebody to punch above their weight class. You can get away with that for like 1 or 2 positions. You can't get away with that for CB1, LB1, Edge 1. You're not going to win. You're not going to be able to perform how you want to perform on defense. So I say all that to sort of like rant about the Buccaneers and the things that they have to do this offseason to sort of continue, because I think they have a good core, but you have to make some major changes to that defense next year, whether Todd Bowles is there or not. So not taking anything away from Carolina. They went and won this game. That's why I wanted to start by talking about the game plan, because it was their game plan. It was their aggressiveness. It was Bryce and Canales' confidence that won them this game. And I wanted to make sure we talked about that first, but that's a major issue for Tampa as well.
I think going into the offseason, to me, aside from Diaby, he's a keeper. Like you mentioned, if Yaya Diaby's your second best edge rusher, I think you feel great. But they don't have anybody ahead of him right now. To me, you go into this offseason, if you're the Bucs, and you completely overhaul the edge unit and the linebacker room. Mm-hmm. This next couple weeks might be the last we see of Levante David.
I think so too.
And obviously franchise legend, possible Hall of Famer, Ring of Honor guy in Tampa for sure. His name will be up there, but this might be it. I think at edge defender and at linebacker, they have to completely overhaul those 2 units, because that to me is what I think the secondary long term is going to be fine, because you got some darn good young players there. Tyke Smith. I agree. Obviously, Winfield is still young, and Jacob Parrish, honestly, has been one of the better defensive rookies in football. And even the outside guys, Dean and McCollum, they're still solid players, right? They're not Pat Surtain or whatever, but they're solid. I think the secondary will be fine, but they have they've got to overhaul the edge unit and the linebacker unit this offseason.
Jags and Broncos.
Fun one.
Another fun one. Jacksonville, baby. Don't count them out of the 1 seed yet, right? They can still get the 1 seed even though the Patriots won.
I think they would need another Bronco loss and maybe another Patriot.
I think they'd need another Patriots loss.
Because what are the Patriots are now 12-3, right?
But they're still in it.
I think the Jags somehow would win a 3-way tie there. Still how that would work.
34-20. They take down Denver in Denver. Incredibly impressive. Their top 5 graded players: wide receiver Parker Washington with a 90.7, cornerback Montaric Brown an 84.1, edge rusher Trayvon Walker a 75.1, offensive tackle Cole Van Lanen. How good has Cole Van Lanen been over the last month? Unbelievable. Offensive tackle Anton Harrison rounding things out with a 73.4, or a 73.3, excuse me. Trevor Lawrence in this game an 81.8. On Denver side, linebacker Jonah Ellis with a 91.7. Defensive tackle DJ Jones, an 85.2. Linebacker Alex Singleton, an 82.6. Offensive tackle Garrett Bowles with an 81.5. And then on defensive tackle John Franklin Meyer with an 81.1. Bo Nix, 55.0 overall grade in this game. Stats told the story, Dalton.
Much like I talked about in the last game with Bryce Young against the Bucs, I think the first thing you really worry about is this Denver Broncos pass rush that leads the league in sacks, and then they can just get after you in so many different directions. And early in this game, it looked a bit like they were winning that battle, and Trevor Lawrence was rattled a bit. But I'll tell you what, against the blitz, Trevor Lawrence was just outstanding in this game, whether that was the Broncos' standard 5-man rush, whether it was the linebackers, Greenlaw and Singleton coming from every different direction. It was Jaquan McMillan off the slot at certain times. There was stunts left and right. He was adjusting protections pre-snap, and as the game went on, he got more and more comfortable. He sped up the process, and he dealt with pressure in a way that, honestly, against a team like this, I'm not sure I've ever seen him do it. We, over the last month, have seen Trevor Lawrence do some things that we've never seen him do in the NFL, right? And I think arguably the biggest flaw for him through the first 4 years of his career was these moments and dealing with high pressure situations in the pocket and how to respond and then forcing passes downfield, right? He looks like he has this calmness to him, and he has all of the answers right now against pressure, and he needed to have them in this game against this Broncos pass rush. Against the blitz, 79.1 passing grade, 13 for 16, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. But in the way that veteran quarterbacks beat the blitz, only a 6.3 yard average depth of target, working to the sticks, working to the open man underneath, and a 2.43 second average time to throw, processing it pre-snap, having a plan, knowing where he wants to go with the football. This was the most veteran. If the last 3 games were the highest ceiling Trevor Lawrence we've seen, like, oh, there's the chosen one guy, number 1 overall pick from Clemson, this, I think, was the most veteran performance that Trevor Lawrence has put up in his career. Having pre-snap answers, knowing where the pressure is coming from, adjusting protections, and getting the football to the right place. This guy playing the way he's played the last month, this is as good a Super Bowl contender as we have in the AFC, with it as wide open as it is. It's the same thing I said about Drake May and the Patriots. This team's got every bit of shot that they do. If Trevor Lawrence plays the way he's played this last month, they're absolutely a Super Bowl contender.
AFC's wide open. AFC is wide open. If you told me the Jags are representing this conference in the Super Bowl, okay, I believe you.
They got the hottest quarterback.
Right.
Isn't that half the battle?
Yeah.
I mean, and then their defense pitched, gave up 3 points in the second half of this game? I mean,
yeah.
Liam Cohen's got a good team, man.
They really put Bo Nix in a blender in that fourth quarter. Now, to Nix's credit, he didn't have any turnover-worthy plays until that fourth quarter. Like, late in the fourth quarter when he kind of, like, had to have it, and it was situations where it's like, all right, well, you've just got to throw it up there because you got to make something happen, because they were down 17 at one point, and then they were down 14 after they kicked the field goal. 2 turnover-worthy plays in the fourth quarter when he really had to press. I didn't love their offensive approach on those throws. It felt like they were calling pretty high difficulty level of throws anyways. Like, hey, let me get you single coverage on the outside and let me throw a back shoulder ball where you're fully covered. Like, yeah, of course, you've got to be able to throw and complete some difficult passes and catches to come away with victories in this league. But, geez, like, we can't get anything a little bit easier on that gotta-have-it situation. So he made it tough for him, so I don't even really totally blame Nix for that one. But Trevor Lawrence, he was the better quarterback. He just played incredibly well. How about Parker Washington, too? My most impressive. 10 targets, 6 catches, 145 yards, a touchdown, 90.3 receiving grade. He was awesome. He's part of what makes him and Jacoby Myers, and obviously, like, it's funny to go back to the beginning of the year when this team obviously had Travis Hunter, and they don't now. But it felt like they were still figuring it out with Travis Hunter, like what they really wanted to do with him. They leaned on Brian Thomas Jr. so much. And just being honest, he was not giving him a very high return on investment at the beginning of the year. Dropping passes, was not as explosive as he was the previous season. There was a lot of stuff where he was not giving them that wide receiver one ability like they really needed him to. And now they're in a situation where Brian Thomas Jr. is back, healthy, but they've traded for Jacoby Myers. Brenton Strange is back and healthy. Parker Washington's been unbelievable. And now all of a sudden, Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't have to be this wide receiver one. He's kind of like a vertical explosive threat for them. But if he doesn't go off, they could still win. And it did not feel like that was the case with this team through the first 6 weeks of the season. It basically felt like if he wasn't going off, they weren't going to win. And I just love how diverse and a well-oiled, efficient machine this offense is right now. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is seeing things really well. Liam Cohen very clearly game planning things up very well. So it's a lot of fun to watch this Jags team.
No, absolutely. And they have so many, and you just mentioned it. I think you said the right thing. They have so many different reasons they can win. It's Trevor Lawrence with his arm. It's ETN in the offensive line in the ground game. It's Myers. It's Brenton Strange at tight end. It's Brian Thomas, Parker Washington. Then this defense. I can go through a million guys, and you mentioned it with the fourth quarter with Bo Nix. This is not a team, this Jacksonville team, that you want to be in obvious passing situations against because their defense and their coverage schemes are so fluid all the time. Two guys, again, that stick out to me, Andrew Wingard and Antonio Johnson, both at safety. They're just all over the place. And those two guys, to me, kind of dictate how everything rotates in this defense, and you never know what they're going to be in pre-snap. This is a real problem of a defense to deal with, especially in pass defense. If you're going to beat this team right now the way Lawrence is playing, you got to be more physical than them, and you better find a way to rattle Lawrence. But right now, he's finding the answers for it. Guy I want to shout out to on the offensive line, you mentioned Cole Van Lannon. The value that he's brought to this team, despite some of their offensive line injuries, Trevor, he has started a game at 4 different positions.
I know.
Both guard and both tackle spots, and he's played well at all of them. And he's had to play left tackle the last 4 weeks with Walker Little hurt. Check this out. Last 4 weeks, an 86 PFF grade for Cole Van Lannon. You want the tackles in front of him? This is 5th in the NFL. Here's the 4 tackles in front of this guy. Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, Trent Williams, Garrett Bowles. That's how good Cole Van Lannon's been at playing left tackle, and then he's really been solid playing I don't know where their offensive line would be without him, but he's on a heater right now playing the best football of his career. And when you have offensive line injuries, we've seen it with several teams, a lot of times you can't overcome those. The Jags have been able to, and he's been the biggest reason. I mean, starting at 4 different spots and then down the stretch trying to win a division, playing left tackle for this team.
Right.
And in this game against one of the hardest teams to block, and he puts up a top 5 graded performance in this. I mean, great stuff from him, man. Again, there's just – you could list off a million reasons right now that the Jacksonville Jaguars are really good, and I think that might be what makes them maybe they're certainly among the most dangerous teams. Right now, they might be the most dangerous team in the AFC because you really look at them up and down. If Lawrence is playing like this, they don't have a ton of flaws. They're just really, really darn good all the way around.
And I think that they don't have a ton of flaws, not because they're the most talented at every single area, but because they're extremely well coached. On both sides of the ball, clearly the position coaches are able to coach up exactly what the overall offensive mind or defensive mind wants to do.
They better hope they don't lose Anthony Campanile this offseason.
Well, they got a chance to lose a couple of these coaches. When you play well, this is what happens. And I think that they've got a couple of coaches on their roster that are going to get looked at for either head coach or coordinator position upgrades in the next couple of months. But as of right now, man, Jags are hot.
This is a wagon.
And this is a fun really good team. I wouldn't want to play Jacksonville right now, I'll tell you that. Steelers and the Lions. Steelers end up winning this game 29-24. Mike Tomlin clinching his 19th straight winning season.
Well, never a doubt, right? I mean,
or at least season at 500 or above.
Non-losing season.
Non-losing season, a better way to say it.
There was 1 or 2 8-8s in there.
Right, that's why I think there was something around 500, but never below 500.
We don't get those. We don't get those anymore. Not without a tie.
For him to do that with this team, unbelievable. Pittsburgh's top 5 graded players: halfback Kenneth Gainwell, 86.9, and maybe the catch of the year. Defensive tackle Cam Hayward with an 82.3. Cornerback Joey Porter Jr. a 74.6. Edge rusher Alex Highsmith a 74.5. Wide receiver Adam Thielen a 74.0. Aaron Rodgers 81.0. On Detroit's side of things, linebacker Jack Campbell with an 82.7. Defensive tackle Roy Lopez with an 81.3. Shout out to NFL Stock Exchange. Safety Thomas Harper with 79.3. Defensive tackle DJ Reader a 75.3. Tight end Anthony Ferkser with a 74.7. Jared Goff a 74.2. Stat that told the story here, Dalton.
Trevor, if you asked me earlier in the week going into this game, hey, which team, if I told you one team is going to run for 8.5 yards a clip and 7 explosive runs and set all their new season highs in rushing, I would have said, oh, probably Detroit, because that's what they do. And instead, it was the Steelers that dominated on the ground. 230 yards, 7 explosive runs, 134 yards before contact. Offensive line, especially in the interior, playing well in this game, setting basically season highs across the board in every rushing metric for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. They flipped the script on Detroit here, and they controlled possession. They dominated on the ground, and once again, this was the case, and you'll get into the Lions side of this. The teams who have beaten the Lions this year have taken them out of their identity, which is run the football and use Jared Goff as the complementary piece. The Steelers did not allow the Lions to do that. And every game the Lions have played this year where that has been the case, even high-scoring games like this or like, the Rams game or, several others, the Packers game on Thanksgiving, if you can do that and you flip the script on the Lions, and especially if this Steeler team running the football like this gets a little more dangerous because they've rarely had this level of balance this year, you can beat the Lions. And that's been shown over and over and over. And I think for Pittsburgh, it's great to see them with Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell and even Jonnu Smith and some other guys getting jet sweeps and trick plays and things that they're adding in. And I'll even say, even in the passing game, this felt like the game where it most resembled what we're used to seeing from an Arthur Smith offense, with the zone plays, with the bootlegs and the play action, and obviously Rodgers trying to stay out of harm's way from Aiden Hutchinson. The fact that the Steelers physically dominated this game was the story on both sides of the ball, in the trenches especially.
You're not going to dominate in the trenches forever. But for the Lions to get beat as bad in the trenches as they did in this game was pretty shocking. You mentioned how well the Steelers ran the ball, 230 yards rushing in this game. Brother, the Lions had 15 yards rushing. They had 15 yards rushing. This game was never out of, towards the end, the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, the score was kind of out there. But how do you have 15 yards rushing in this game?
And there's a problem with that I have, because 11 carries from the running backs, I believe 8 of those were on their first 3 drives. So think about it. You had a tie game at halftime.
Jared Goff threw the ball 54 times.
You had a tie game at halftime. They came out and they got backed up before the safety. They did not run the ball any of those 3 plays. They're down 15-10 with the ball early in the fourth quarter. I think they did not run the ball on that drive either. Down 15-10 with 10 or 12 minutes left, and the whole offense is available, and they just didn't. They
made themselves very one-dimensional.
They abandoned it.
Yeah.
And yes, the Steelers did a good job early of slowing it down.
Yeah,
obviously, they only ran for 15 yards.
Right.
But the Lions completely abandoned it in what was until the final 8 minutes a close game.
And I wonder if the thought process there was for them that, hey, first couple of drives we're trying to run the football, and very clearly the Steelers were selling out to stop it. They had a lot of guys on the line. They were really aggressive to get in the backfield. They were in one-gapping situations. They were trying to get in the backfield. So they were selling out to defend the run. Maybe Dan Campbell was just like, hey, we've got to pass the ball to really open things up to where they're not stacking the box as much. And I can understand that philosophy, but it's hard to look at this game and say that 15 yards rushing for this Detroit Lions team was the right recipe. And it's they're sitting here at 8-7. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, but it's becoming a slim chance to make the playoffs for them. It was a really tough. When I looked at the offensive line grades for this team, they had so we have impact and defeated run blocking percentage, which for anybody out there that's new to PFF terminology, an impact run blocking play means that you gained a positive result. So you're gaining, we grade on a scale from -2 to 2. 0 is like, okay, you did your job the right way. If you gain any sort of a positive grade, whether that's positive 0.5, 1, 1.5, or 2, we categorize that as a impact run blocking play. If you gain a negative play, we call that a defeated run blocking play. as a team, Dalton, I've never seen this before with the Lions. They had an impact run blocking percentage of an 8.3. That's it. And they had a defeated run blocking percentage of 75.0. I have no idea when the last time the Lions did that is as a team, but it can't be often. Not this Lions team, not with this regime over the last 4 years. So that was shocking to me, is that for a Lions team that prides itself in basically whooping up other teams in the trenches, they got whooped in the trenches in this game. And that's how the final score was what it was.
0-7 now. All 7 of their losses under 100 designed rushing yards. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's just this is not the identity of this team. Jared Goff is not a quarterback that is going to carry you. He's just not. He's very good, but he's not a quarterback that's going to carry you in the way that a Joe Burrow or a Josh Allen or somebody like that can do that.
And even then, the game goes down to the last play, right?
Right. But, I mean, the fact that they're in that situation, they're not built to play from down 2 scores like that. They're built to dominate up front. They're built for play action. They're built for Jared Goff to be the complementary piece. And I'm not going to tell you he wasn't good in this game. He was good in this game. But for all of their I feel like I've said this for all of their losses. I probably have. If Mike Tomlin walks into this game pregame and goes, hey, or if somebody tells him, goes, hey, this game's going to be in Jared Goff's hands, what's he going to go? All right, sure. I'd rather have that than Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So, I think this Lions team really needs to – first things first, I would be shocked at some point in the first 3 rounds of the draft if they don't take another interior offensive lineman. They either need a new center or they need to move Ratledge to center and get a new guard. They need to figure that out. I don't know what their left tackle situation is going to be. We'll see where that goes. That might be another conversation. They need to figure out what this offensive line is going to look like next year. And it's hard because he's too good to replace with something better. But it feels like to me we're stuck with Jared Goff. And I know we're talking about the lack of run game here.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, right. But I mean, like, kind of philosophically stuck with him. Because he's just not – he's not Burrow, Stafford, Allen, Mahomes, where he's going to carry you. I don't know. He can't carry this team right now with the average run game that they have, and they weren't even average, obviously, in this game. It's just not how they win, and all of their losses, every one of them have looked the same. They've been taken out of their identity, and they have no other answer. Throw in the problems in the secondary with the injuries, and you can see why this team is most likely not going to the playoffs now.
Yep. Anything else on this one?
Pittsburgh, 1 win from a division title. Just beat the Browns next week.
Incredible.
Chargers. Sorry, Tyler.
We're laughing because we just heard our producer yell no behind the glass. Chargers and the Cowboys. Chargers win this game 34-17. The Chargers, I believe, clinch a playoff spot if the Colts lose on Monday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Chargers. Safety Derwin James with a 92.0. Wide receiver Quentin Johnson, a 90.5. Halfback Amari Hampton with an 84.9. Wide receiver Keenan Allen, an 84.1. Edge rusher Tuli Pelotu with an 82.2. And the quarterback Justin Herbert with an 88.1. On Dallas' side of things, wide receiver Ryan Flournoy with a 85.1. Wide receiver George Pickens, an 84.7. Defensive tackle Kenny Clark, an 82.2. Offensive guard Tyler Smith, a 74.3. Edge rusher Donovan Ezeraku, a 72.6. And then Dak Prescott, an 83.3. Dalton, stat that told the story?
Boy, after Justin Herbert's had kind of a rocky last month or so before this game, he must have watched the tape of this Dallas secondary and just went, "Oh, all right, guys, I'm coming back this week.
Yeah, vertical passing game.
I'm gonna be back. 10+ yard throws, 8 of 11, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 big-time throws, 92.5 passing grade. If Justin Herbert's getting vertical like this and he's 8 of 11 on these 10+ yard throws, he's going to beat you. That's just how this works. And he had enough time in the pocket. Had to make a few plays outside the pocket as well, as has been the case all year. But, it ended up just being a mismatch. And Dallas, early on, they looked okay, especially offensively. They were finding some success, even though they did have to manufacture. They didn't get a ton of deep shots outside of, I think, the one George Pickens touchdown. But at the end of the day, it felt like one that the Cowboys, because the Eagles had won Saturday, it felt like the Cowboys weren't quite as charged up as they usually are for their games. And 2, the secondary just gives them no shot to win. I mean, we're going to talk about this back 7 the entire offseason. Justin Herbert absolutely carved them up downfield. That really was the difference, and the Cowboys could not get stops against this team.
Yeah, Cowboys coverage, it continues to be a major issue for them. I know they dealt with their injuries, but 45.6 coverage grade. Trayvon Diggs, who's back in this game, was their highest graded corner and highest graded DB, I think, overall in this game, and just everybody else really struggled. It's been a tough year for Savone Revel, their rookie corner, who was coming off of recovering from an ACL anyways, as if, starting as a rookie corner in the NFL isn't hard enough. So it's been tough for him. And then the safeties, it's been tough for them as well. So the Cowboys cornerback group, I think they've gotten a lot better in the front 7. The linebackers have been a little bit better. At times they've been a lot better, but I would just say a little bit better overall this year. Defensive line, obviously, was very much improved with the trades that they made, the additions to Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, and getting Mozzie Smith out of that lineup. They have been better up front, but the secondary continues to be a major issue for this team, and it's something they're going to have to think about going into the offseason. Quentin Johnson was awesome in this game. 5 targets, 4 catches, 104 receiving yards, 89.6 overall receiving grade. And you're right, Herbert was dealing in this game, and Quentin Johnson was on the receiving end, a lot of those big passes. And so he was a vertical receiver that they wanted to get going, that they needed to get going, and he really showed up for him, which is great. I mean, he even had some tough catches, some spectacular catches. He was a lot of fun to watch. So Quentin Johnson was very good in this game. Anything else here for this one before we move on?
I think this Chargers team finding a little bit of balance. You're starting to see the healthy version again of Amari and Hampton, and I think that's a big factor. Now, the offensive line obviously is an obstacle for both the passing and run game to work around, but Hampton, 16 carries, 85 yards, 7 missed tackles forced, and I think the most important part for him, and I like Kamani Vidal and the work that he's done, but Hampton's got a different burst, right? He's got that burst to get outside. This Chargers team, if there's anything I could tell you they can't run between the tackles. It's just a situation with their offensive line. They're not going to run between the tackles. They're going to get to the edges a lot in their run game. Hampton's got the burst to be able to do that, and this really felt like the first game where we saw he was able to do that. If they can run to the outside and add just some balance to this offense, they're still pretty dangerous, even in spite of their offensive line struggles.
Yeah, for the Cowboys, I just think that the season has put the spotlight on the fact that this roster is still incomplete. They made some moves, obviously at the beginning of the season, moving on from Micah Parsons, but they made some moves at a couple of different times this year. But going into this offseason, it's got to be secondary additions, certainly, and I think just defensive additions overall, secondary additions, linebacker additions, something, because right now it feels like it's an offense that could put up a ton of points against anybody, but they're just too incomplete. They're too one-dimensional. It's basically like, hey, can the offense score 35? And if not, it might be tough to get a win here, and it's really tough to succeed in this league when that's the case. Chargers, sneaky, man. I know I talked when we just opened up this segment, but them being a Colts loss away from the playoffs, despite all the injuries that they've had, and their 2 offensive tackles being out for a year, and how bad their offensive line has been. Like, man, that's
Jim Harbaugh,
impressive year from Jim Harbaugh.
Greg Roman especially, he deserves a lot of credit for still finding ways to create offense despite, I mean, that unit they have up front right now, I mean, it's just not getting it done. They're not really going to dominate anybody, even especially come playoff time. There's going to be some tough matchups up front. But Justin Herbert's resilience, his ability to make plays outside the pocket, especially this year. And then last point, because I was thinking about it with Dallas, I wanted to see a split on the record. When they score at least 31 points, the Cowboys, 5 wins and a tie. Mm-hmm. 30 or less, they are 1-8.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
That's just the story of Dallas.
Got to make stops.
Totally. Bills and the Browns. Buffalo wins this one 23-20. Bills also get into the playoffs with the Colts loss, I think, tonight.
If the Colts lose to San Fran tonight, the AFC is pretty much locked.
Pretty much locked up. Yeah. Buffalo's top 5 graded players, tight end Jackson Hawes at the top of the list with an 87.6. Edge rusher Greg Rousseau, a 79.9. Halfback James Cook, a 76.7. Cornerback Teron Johnson, a 76.1. Cornerback Tre'Davious White rounded things out with a 75.2. Josh Allen with an 82.7 overall grade for Buffalo. On Cleveland side of things, defensive tackle Shelby Harris with a 76.8. Then defensive tackle Mason Graham right behind him with a 74.5. Offensive guard Tevin Jenkins, a 73.5. Linebacker Carson Swessinger with a 71.5. Halfback Quinshon Judkins, a 71.0. Unfortunately, whether you saw it or whether you didn't, I'm sure you read about it, tough injury for Quinshon Judkins. It'll be a season ender for sure for them, but you're just hoping that it's something that he can get back to form from, because that did not look pretty. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders, a 62.9 overall grade in this one. Stat that told the story, Dalton.
You want to know something? Hey, this is a funny way of watching tape, or at least it certainly would be. If I were to take the Bills and watch the tape, the end zone shot of the tape, and then take my hand and go like this, right, and just watch with my right eye, like just this side only, I wouldn't miss anything in this game. Here's how this worked. When you're playing against the Browns, what's the goal? Don't let Myles Garrett wreck the game.
Yeah.
Right? Myles Garrett, there's certain games where he switches sides a little more often. Myles Garrett played 49 snaps in this game. 48 of them, he was lined up over the offense's left side, over Deion Dawkins there at left tackle. So what Joe Brady did was he said, okay, we're just going to run our entire offense to one side of the field. Right side of the Bills. So when you talk about the Bills' run game, first and foremost, obviously that was the star of the show, James Cook in the run game, right? When they hit to the right of the center, the point of attack, right, where the ball was getting to the right of the center, 20 carries for 147 yards and all 3 touchdowns. To the left side, or there was a sneak at the end mixed in there also, 9 carries, 17 yards. 13 of Josh Allen's 18 pass attempts.
This is so good.
Went to the right half of the field. I don't know if I've ever seen it split this hard.
Sometimes it's just that simple.
The Bills just went. They lined up, and they had a whole plan where if Myles Garrett's going to line up on the left side, our left side, at least 90% of the time, they said, we're going to take our entire offense, and we're just going to go this way. Running, passing, everything. 7.5 yards a carry, running to the right. 2/3 of Josh Allen's passes going to the right, bootlegs to the right. It's the same idea. I'd have to check the numbers again. Remember we talked about Steelers Browns earlier in the year at the first game, and Garrett has this high grade but not a lot of pressures and this and that, and we basically said, hey, yeah, the Steelers just said we're not going that way. The Bills did the same thing. Just if anybody other than number 95 beats you, then so be it, but don't let that guy do it. Turns out they stayed away from him so often. He had, it was either his lowest or second lowest PFF grade of the season. I think he made 1 tackle. He got a half a sack, so he's closer to the record, a half sack from the record. But that was the only play he made all day. And it's because the Bills, they legitimately just cut the field in half and said, yeah, no, we're just not going to do it. We're not going that way. Deion Dawkins, we love you, but we're just stay on the backside there and hang out for us. That's literally what the Bills. Go back and watch it again. You'll just say, oh, yeah, every single play is to the right, every one of them.
I would have never thought to look that up.
Well,
and that's amazing.
Well done, Joe Brady. Because I'm just watching this and I'm like, well, where's Myles Garrett? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, he's lining up in the same spot every play. And then it's, wow, he's just getting no action here. Kind of feel bad for him. And Joe Brady literally did. He put the playbook on the table during the week of practice and just went and just cut out. He cut out the left half of the playbook is what he did. It was quite impressive. I haven't seen a team in a long time.
Football is so insanely complex. There are so many moving parts. There's so much. Millions and millions and millions of dollars go into hiring the right people, getting the right team, having the right game plan, and sometimes it's as simple as that guy's about to break the sack record. What if we just ran over there?
What if we just don't? Our producer Eli also throwing in here that apparently Deion Dawkins, ill throughout the week with the flu, lost apparently 13 pounds supposedly during the week.
Damn.
So on top of that may have been the game plan anyway.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's not put Deion through too much here, trying to block that guy too much. So, Joe Brady, props to you. It's a simple way of going about it, but
however he got to that decision, that was the right decision. There's no doubt about it. Browns' offensive line was kind of the stat that told the story for me. 54.6 overall passing grade, pass blocking grade, 16 pressures allowed, 41% pressure percentage in this game.
It's a draft conversation.
I sound like a broken record, but I can't believe that this team went into this year with the offensive line the way that it currently is, and we are reaping the rewards of that, seeing what this team is with this offensive line. You can't win with it. And Shedeur...
It makes me wonder what the practices look like over there. With this defensive line?
I don't know.
Do they have to tell the D-line, like, hey, just can you guys take it easy so we can do something here?
Maybe they do.
Man, it might have to.
It didn't used to be like that. Cleveland used to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
There was a stretch like when Baker Mayfield, they had a top 5 offensive line when Baker Mayfield was there.
And now they still have the same guys, just 5 years later.
That's a lot of
normally
years.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I thought Greg Rousseau was pretty impressive in this game again. I feel like he's always all over the place, pass rushing, run defense. He's just such a force on the Bills' defensive line. I thought he was really good in this game. And then my most disappointing in this one was just the Judkins injury. So anything else on this one before we move on?
James Cook, well done. Cut the field in half, same thing. I mean, his life was pretty easy this week. Just, James, run to the right. You'll be just fine.
And he was indeed. Raiders-Texans. Both of us predicted that this game would be like a 25-point blowout. It wasn't.
We were hacked that day.
Now, we weren't wrong.
They hacked the channel.
No. We weren't wrong. We still get a point because we picked the Texans.
Yeah, we get the money line.
Right.
We wouldn't make a whole lot of money.
We picked the Texans, so we still get it. A win's a win. But 23-21, a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. On Houston side of things, cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. with a 90.9 overall grade. Right behind him, edge rusher Danielle Hunter with an 85.8. Wide receiver Nico Collins is 77.6. Halfback Jawar Jordan with a 76.1, and then rounding things out in the top 5, halfback Nick Chubb with a 74.0. CJ Stroud in this game, a 72.3 overall grade. On Vegas' side of things, offensive guard Dylan Parham had a really good day, a 90.0 overall grade. Halfback Ashton Genty with a breakout day, 81.7. Tight end Brock Bowers is 75.1. Safety Jamal Adams, a 79.8. Edge rusher Malcolm Koonce with a 73.5, and then Geno Smith in this game, a 66.7 overall PFF grade. Dalton, what was your stat that told the story here?
And it was the best that we've seen the Raiders in a while, but this really was the Texans getting away with one.
I agree.
I'll tell you. Think about this. Offensively, they were outscored. It was just the Derek Stingley. They were lucky they got that Derek Stingley pick 6 on, what was it, the second or third play of the game, or maybe second drive of the game, I think it was actually. But either way, the Derek Stingley pick 6 put them ahead early, but they got themselves into a dogfight, and it was not pretty offensively, I thought, for the Texans. I know that, Ariante Ursary got hurt late in the game. They didn't have Woody Marks in this game, but it felt like they were sleepwalking through this one on offense. 4.3 yards per play against this defense that it was last in the league in coverage grade and might still be, and just hadn't been very good all year. Max Crosby looked good. I thought Jamal Adams at linebacker, solid. He's been solid all year in a rotational role. Malcolm Koonce with one of his best games of the year. But it also felt like the Raiders, a little bit different philosophy. Felt like I saw more too high coverages from them. We know them as the masters of cover 3. It's Pete Carroll's defense, right? But a little more too high, a little more just keeping things in front of them. And it almost seemed like they knew what was coming. I want to go back and probably, later this week take another look at this, because it felt like the Raiders knew where to be at all times, and the Texans' best answer was, well, we have Nico Collins and you don't, which is true. It's great to have Nico Collins, don't get me wrong, top 10 receiver in the league. But it was just the Texans were just not clicking. And it was kind of discouraging just to see after the last 2 or 3 weeks when they had been playing better offensively. I thought last week they were awesome offensively. 3.2 yards per carry, 5.3 yards per pass. They got to be better than this. They got to play the Chargers next week. And the Texans are the one team, even if the Colts lose, that they haven't 100% locked in a playoff spot.
Right.
Don't play like this on offense next week against that Charger defense. You're going to have a serious problem. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give them a pass, because we haven't seen this version of this Texans offense in a while, kind of this poor version, right, that just doesn't really create much. This was a tough one, and it was kind of hard to explain, and we'll see if that carries over. If it was just a matter of them sleepwalking, like we did with our predictions through it because it's the Raiders, I get it, but well, there's a lot to fix with this Texans offense coming out of this game, and they need to do it in a hurry because they're playing a really good defense next week.
Yeah, I think that the Texans were probably the story here. As much as you want to give the Raiders their credit for keeping it close, the 4.3 yards per play average that the Texans had, I mean, it's got to be so much better than that if you're going to get in the playoffs and make some noise. But that's the fear about this team, right? That you are all defense.
I mean, that's the lowest graded defense in football.
The Raiders are.
Yeah.
No. But I'm saying for the Texans, the worry with this team is that it's too much about the fact that they have one of, if not the best defense in the NFL, and then does the offense have enough to supplement it? You would even think, in theory, even with the offensive line being as makeshift and up and down as it's been this year. Now, the big problem with the Texans is that there's not always the ability to stay balanced on offense because their run game is so hot and cold. You know, for as much as Woody Marks has given you points this season and Jawar Jordan has given you some points this season and Nick Chubb maybe gives you a little bit, like it's not been a reliable run game. And because of that, I think that you're seeing a lot of inconsistency still in how they're playing offense. And so they've got to get better. They've got to be hotter going into the playoffs because I think they got the defense to really give some teams some trouble once you get into the AFC playoffs. But this offense has to play so much better than that. My most impressive was Dylan Parham. I thought he was awesome in this game. I was pretty shocked to see just an elite overall grade for him, and that's even I like Dylan Parham a lot. I was a pretty big fan of him when he was coming out of the draft, and so I know he was like a center and a guard. He was playing guard for this game. He's playing left guard for him, and 87.1 pass blocking grade, 84.7 run blocking grade. Just a really good overall day from him. And I went back and I watched tape, and I felt like that backed it up. It's not like he was moving people off the ball with like crazy reps, but he was really solid. He was angling guys away from plays. He was doing what he needed to do. He was maintaining his blocks. And so a really impressive day in both running and pass blocking from Dylan Parham. What about you? You're most impressive.
Is he a Memphis Tiger? Is that right? Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. I didn't want to cheat it. I was like, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I was doing the alma mater quiz in my head. I was like, Parham went to Memphis, right? I don't know why I had to get that out. Don't worry about me. Ashton Jeanty, I'll tell you what, I'll go on the Raiders side as well. And I got one first round running back earlier to Marion Hampton. I'm going to do a second one here with Jeanty. 24 carries, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 60-yard touchdown catch, 11 total missed tackles for us. It was really good to see him just kind of unchained a little bit with the Raiders blocking at least a little bit better in this game. That's really it's hard for me to give Jeanty a whole lot of demerits this season when this offensive line has been so injured, and I know a lot of people are going to criticize Jeanty himself. I think it is fair to evaluate whether they should have taken a running back that high with the state of their team, but I don't think it's fair to evaluate and criticize Jeanty's talent considering what he's had around him to deal with this passing game and with this offensive line. But it was really good to see him have a big game against a really good defense.
Before we get to our next game, let's talk about our friends over at Western Southern. Talk about our game plan of the week presented by Western Southern Financial Group. A game plan for your financial future. Game plan of the week, we're going back to the Carolina Panthers, what you talked about. Be a little bit more aggressive on first down, right? We talked about that last week. Wednesday's show, they're not being aggressive enough on first down. Yeah, okay, we're establishing the run. That's very important. But specifically against this Buccaneers team, it was very advantageous for them to put the ball in Bryce Young's hand and pass the football on first down. That's exactly what they did. They were aggressive in that way, and they got a big divisional win because of it. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out, building your dynasty, or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. A couple of games that a little less on the line here, these last few that we're getting to here on this show. Chiefs and the Titans. 26-9, Tennessee victorious here. Dalton, do you realize right now that after everything that the Titans have been through this year, they now don't even have a top 5 pick?
They're not even top 5?
They're 6 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, this year, and for that team who already has their quarterback,
it's not the worst thing in the world.
Go
ahead and win games. But it is kind of We'll get into it. Top 5 graded players that we have for the Tennessee Titans. Defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat with an 87.1. Defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons with an 84.4. Wide receiver Elk Maynard an 80.0. Offensive tackle J.C. Latham with an 80.0. Offensive guard Kevin Zeitler a 75.6. And then Cam Ward an 89.9. What a great Cam Ward day this was for him against Kansas City. On the Chiefs side of things, linebacker Jack Cochran with a 74.4. Linebacker Nick Bolton with a 74.0. Running back Isaiah Pacheco with a 68.4. Linebacker Drew Tranquil a 67.7. Offensive guard Trey Smith a 66.8. Quarterback Chris Oludokun with a 53.2. Excuse me. He was the quarterback who played most of this game, unfortunately, because Gardner Minshew tore his ACL, I believe it was in the first quarter of this game. So now we have Patrick Mahomes and Gardner Minshew both down with torn ACLs for the Kansas City Chiefs. Sats told the story here, Dalton.
Actually, a report that he's avoided a torn ACL.
Oh, I thought that was the
initial.
report.
That was the initial, but now, according to Ian Rappaport, he's avoided a torn ACL.
How did we get that wrong?
We very rarely do. It's odd, but he went for the MRI, and apparently the ACL is intact. Apparently, let's see, what is this? A non-displaced tibial plateau fracture, whatever that means. I'm not a doctor.
I would assume that he's not going to play.
Well, you didn't think about the non-displaced tibial plateau fracture.
I did not. You're right. Which I often forget about.
Right.
That's why I'm not a doctor,
These are
because
the
every
things.
time that question came up, I got it wrong, and so that was what really tripped me.
You know the number of people on their couch. They saw this and they went, that's definitely a non-displaced tibial plateau fracture.
Yeah, no, it's
Absolutely.
true. That's true. And those are the true ball knowers.
Absolutely.
Right
there.
You know, it was funny.
X-ray vision.
It was interesting in this game. I don't mean this to sound more harsh or mean than it needs to. The Titans have not been as talented as basically every team that they have played this year. I mean, just the whole roster, Cam Ward coming along as a rookie quarterback, just everything involved. The Titans have not been to the level of most of their competition, whether it's been overall talent, execution, confidence, game plans, like all that kinds of stuff. They just have not been up to the level. And because of that, we've seen them lose most of their games they have played this season, simply because they're not on the same playing field as a lot of these teams. The Chiefs, without Mahomes and without Gardner Minshew, kind of on the same level as the Titans. And what happened? Titans kind of worked them.
They went on the road and got whacked.
Which is, I think, very encouraging if you're a Titans fan, because you got to think that you're going to continue to get a lot better, hopefully, this offseason with free agents and guys that you're about to draft and all that kinds of stuff. So in one of the few games that you had this season where you went, okay, this is actually a team that, unfortunate for Kansas City, we're sort of on an even playing field with it this time, because Kansas City also not super motivated because they're not going to make the playoffs either. You wiped the floor with them. If I'm a Titans fan, I'm pretty encouraged by this. Even though you aren't picking in the top 5 of the draft.
You feel good about what you've seen lately. They've won 2 out of 3. Think about this. The first 10 games, they did not score more than 22 points in any of them. They've scored at least 24 in 4 of their last 5. And Cam Ward just had by far his highest graded game of the season. Against a defense banged up.
Yeah.
But still, guys,
they're down a bunch of starters.
But you still have guys like Bolton and Tranquil, and the secondary still good,
that's
right?
What I'm saying. Right.
You feel anything like this, you feel good about. Think about this. Think of the 2 defenses they've beaten in the last 3 weeks: Cleveland and Kansas City. And you put up 31 and 26 on those 2 teams. You should absolutely feel good about this. And as far as Kansas City's offense, well, at this point, it's just broken. I mean, There's not much else to it. They had 133 total yards. 77 came on 3 plays. So, I mean, that's 40 other plays that gained 56 yards, dude, which is
I mean, this has to be the lowest offensive output game of the Mahomes era for sure. But 1.9 yards per play, 1 for 9 on third down, only had 21 minutes of a time of possession, 133 total yards. I mean, that's got to be the lowest that they've had in 15 years.
I don't know without, or I should say with a starting quarterback, it's probably one of the lowest marks they've had in a long time. I know there's been a couple like week 18 ones where it was like, oh, they're not, was it last year when Carson Wentz went in there? Week 18 against Denver, and they had like 80 yards or something. Oh yeah, it was last year. Let me see. They had looking at this.
They had less than 133 yards?
See.
No way.
Wentz had 98 passing yards.
Oh, that was worse than I thought then.
And they had 27 rushing yards. Yeah. So, I mean, because they played nobody. Because it was just week 18. But with a starting quarterback, yeah, I'm sure they haven't had this.
Sure, but
we'd have to go back to Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle.
Wow, good
something
pull,
like that.
Good pull.
Maybe those days.
Yeah.
Like pre-Alex Smith days. Yeah.
Huh?
Probably somewhere in there. Maybe they had one of them. But either way, it's just broken. I mean, it was borderline broken with Mahomes in there, and now without him. And now they're not even going to have Minshew on now. So it's, we're just playing out the string in Kansas City is what it looks like.
My most impressive, Jeffrey Simmons, 84.6 overall grade in this one. Very quietly, his best career year. 89.0 overall defensive grade. Jeffrey Simmons is playing at an incredibly high level, and it's unfortunate that it's not mattering more towards wins and losses and potential spot in the division or playoffs or anything like that. But this has been the best year of his career, so definitely wanted to shout him out there. Anything else from you?
Him and T'Vondre Sweat are a problem. My most impressive, it's got to be Cam Ward, right? By far his best game of the season, 88 passing grade, 3 big-time throws. How about a 91.9 passing grade against the blitz? Against this famous Steve Spagnuolo blitzes. A 91.9 passing
He's already
grade.
off to New York.
Spagnuolo or Cam Ward?
No, Spagnuolo.
He's taking the job. Wow, he's going back.
Yeah, he's already off.
You're just throwing out bold coaching predictions right now.
It's just a coaching prediction. I don't know if it's that bold.
I didn't get my Lane Kiffin one. Or maybe I still did. There's still time.
Did you see Marcus Freeman? He's a candidate for the Giants.
Could be. It's going to be a wild search.
It is.
I still wonder if Bill Belichick's in that mix.
No way. No way. He just hired Bobby Petrino.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he hired him as the OC.
I thought – no, maybe you're right because I know he got rid of Kitchens. Let me see. Bobby Petrino. Did he? Wow. He did. That's a new – as of 4 hours ago. I was busy prepping this show when this happened. Bobby Petrino.
I already had my prep done. That's why I could
Petrino had a good year, man. Arkansas, their problem was defense.
That's true. He put up a crap ton of points.
Taylor Green. We'll see him at the Senior Bowl. Anyway, we're getting off track. What's happening now?
Anything else in this game? Titans-Chiefs.
No, Titans got a little bit of hope. I don't hate it.
Yep. Okay, Bengals-Dolphins. 45-21 final score. See what happens when Joe Burrow and the fam are healthy and out in there.
T. Higgins is in.
Playing great.
Yeah.
Top 5 graded players for the Cincinnati Bengals. Edge rusher Myles Murphy, 90.0. Cornerback Dax Hill, an 85.0. Wide receiver Jamar Chase, an 84.0. Defensive tackle B.J. Hill, an 82.5. Halfback Chase Brown, an 81.8. Joe Burrow, 88.1. On Miami side of things, center Aaron Brewer continuing to have an incredible season as their center, 91.0. I mean, he's one of the best interior offensive linemen in the game right now. He's so impressive every single week. Cornerback Rasul Douglas with an 83.1. Tight end Darren Waller with a 78.8. Safety Dante Trader Jr. with a 72.2. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, a 70.8. And then quarterback Quinn Ewers with a 59.2 in his starting debut. Seth told the story, Dalton.
To your point real quick about Aaron Brewer, you have Creed Humphrey, number 1, of course, because that's every year now.
Man, I thought it would have been Brewer.
And then you have Brewer, number 2.
Yeah.
And Humphrey's still a solid 5+ points ahead of him.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Man, we just get bored of how good he is.
Pretty much, yeah. Best center in football by far. But this game was relatively close at halftime for those who didn't watch it. 17-14 Bengals at halftime, and it felt like, okay, we got a ball game. Devon Achane looks good. The Bengals are making plays. We got a pretty good ball game. And then it all came apart for the Dolphins in the third quarter. 3 of them officially count as turnovers, and then 1 was a turnover on downs. But basically 4 turnovers for the Dolphins in the third quarter, 2 Quinn Ewers interceptions, a Greg Dulcich fumble, and then a turnover on downs. The Dulcich fumble was actually the first one, and that really is when the dam broke pretty quickly there. The Bengals scored a touchdown after all 4 of those turnovers. Once Dulcich fumbled and the Bengals went up by 10, you pretty much hit the nightmare scenario because Quinn Ewers, and this is a bit how he was at Texas as well, once you have to throw the football and drop back and throw the ball, and this Dolphins offense is kind of like this anyway, once they have to drop back and throw the football, they're in serious trouble. That's what happened. You had the Dulcich fumble, then you had 2 interceptions, and then it was just kind of gone from there because Joe Burrow was getting short fields. And against this defense with Higgins and Chase both healthy, he was not missing. He was outstanding. 86.5 passing grade, 3 big-time throws. Burrow took care of business. And the Dolphins, starting out in that third quarter especially, they gave him a lot of easy opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals were 6 for 6 in the red zone.
That'll help.
Good night. You're not gonna beat the Bengals if that's ever the case.
Especially when they're handing you the ball pretty darn close to it already.
Which goes into my most disappointing was the Dolphins' defense. Dolphins aren't eliminated from the playoffs, are they? Or did they officially get eliminated?
They got eliminated. When they lost last Monday, they got eliminated.
So I was thinking to myself, I was like, aren't they still playing for something? So I guess that they weren't. But like even with that being the case, man, that's tough. I mean, that's a drop-off in motivation. I mean, Bradley Chubb at a 0.0 passers win percentage. A lot of the defensive line for the Miami Dolphins just was non-existent, were not impactful in this game. And, you know, it's two teams that now that you reconfirmed to me that they didn't have a chance to make the playoffs, it's two teams that are kind of on a different mindset, right? It's Miami, which had a lot of struggles at the beginning of the year, a push during the middle of the year, weren't able to overcome the bad start. Now they're eliminated from the playoffs. Their starting quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa got benched. They're probably just not jazzed for the rest of these games anyways, versus a Bengals team that has been yearning all year long just to have everyone out there. And like now they do, and they're like, we're going to show the league. We're going to remind the league who we are. So it was a little bit of a different point of motivation than for both of these teams, but clearly Cincinnati was the team that was ready to play. They were motivated to play. They were ready to execute. They had the right game plan, and that's about as simple as it is. So my most disappointing was just the Dolphins' defense, but these are kind of just two teams that probably different mindsets heading into this game.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins really, Miami especially, really looking forward to the offseason and what they're going to do with this roster. It sounds like Mike McDaniel's going to stay as the head coach. They got to figure out what they're going to do, first of all, at quarterback, and then second of all, with the rest of this roster, especially the secondary. It's going to be a point of emphasis here.
Jets and the Saints. Jets get a big win. Sorry, Saints get a big win at home.
Don't sound so excited there. Jeez.
29-6. Decisive victory here for New Orleans in the Superdome. Top 5 graded players that we have for New Orleans: safety Jonas Sanker at the top of the list with an elite 92.2. That's a draft win for me. I had Jonas Sanker top 100.
Solid player.
I liked him.
Getting it done. This whole secondary played well.
I liked him.
Look at Kool-Aid down there.
Edge rusher Cam Jordan with an 82.9. Defensive tackle Nate Shepard, 81.2. You know what? I'm counting that a scouting win for Nathan Shepard as well. I had him 16th overall that year. Was it too high? You'd never know by looking at that rating right there, Dalton.
Never wrong.
You'd never know.
Just
yeah, I was too high on him. Wide receiver Chris Olave with a 77.4. Cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry, a 76.9. Tyler Shuck, a 60.4 overall grade. On the New York Jets side of things, linebacker Mikael Walker with an 89.3. Defensive tackle Juwan Briggs, an 86.1. Halfback Breece Hall, an 84.2. Linebacker Jamie Sherwood, a 77.6. And then edge rusher Will McDonald, the fourth, with a 75.5. Brady Cook in this game, gonna be tough to win when your quarterback gets a 28.5 overall grade.
Yep.
It's kind of sad to tell the story there, but what else you got?
I mean, no, that's basically it. The Jets and the forward pass are like oil and water. Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Saints coverage.
They basically have to come away with Mendoza or more.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they would wait and just load up in 27.
But well, they had the opportunity to do it. They could go get there's going to be a couple of quarterbacks that I think are available that you could go get, but I'm getting less and less confident in that happening because of how bad the quarterback play is, right? So, like, you're in a situation where Rodgers, obviously, you went for it all. I think that's a little bit of a different story. But, like, this year, you signed Justin Fields, and you kind of sell to the fan base, like, hey, we're giving him a chance, high-talent guy, we're going to see if it works out. It didn't work out. So can you really go into next year with, like, hey,
Kyler Murray or
got a veteran in
it's
here,
not, yeah.
We're giving him a chance, we're going to see if it works out. I don't think I just don't think you can. And I think if they're within striking distance of Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza at all, I think they're going to do it. But anyways.
And we'll see if Dante comes out. We'll see how there's been seemingly a 50-50
I
proposition
don't know at this
there.
point. I think it's a coin flip at this point for them.
But it feels like with both of them currently in the top 4 that the Raiders and the Jets, I would think, are the 2 teams we're looking at with quarterbacks. And possibly, I mean, Ty Simpson played well this week too. Maybe get a third one. Arizona might be looking. Miami might be looking,
Yeah.
See where all this situation goes. Those seem like the 3 guys if they all come out of school. But either way, yeah, the Jets, they can't throw the ball, and the Saints took full advantage. How about an 86.5 coverage grade as a team, their best of the season? You want a fun stat? This Saints team, Brandon Staley's defense, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they've played a murderer's row of quarterbacks by any means, but the Saints team has allowed under 200 passing yards in 8 of their last 9 games. Brandon Staley and this defense, for the most part this year, have been a pretty functional unit. There's still some flaws, I think, on the defensive line. They could use a little more help up there, especially in the interior. But you got the young secondary. Sanker's playing well. Kool-Aid McKinstry's playing well. 3 forced incompletions. How about 11 coverage stops? They're tackling well. This is a defense. Also, 8 sacks. How about 8 sacks against this offensive line, too? This Saints defense is really, I think, kind of surprised me for the most part, how they've played this season, right? Bush beating Carolina twice, shutting down Carolina twice, 17 points or less in both games. Game like this where they're just absolutely dominant. Even the 6 points, the first field goal was basically given to them on a fumble early in the game. You really look at this and you go, the way that Kellen Moore's got this team playing, the way that Brandon Staley's coaching this defense, Tyler Shuck getting a little bit better every week, there's some hope here in New Orleans, and they're at least a team with the way Shuck is playing that they don't really have to think about at all a quarterback themselves. They could keep building. Imagine if you added, who knows where he'll get drafted, but a Reuben Bain or a Peter Woods to this defensive line, and you make this run defense even better, right?
The Saints are at the point where they're going to be drafting fringe top 10 now.
True, they got 5 wins now.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
they're picking 8.
A Peter Woods or
you win one more game, you're out of the top 10.
Or do you get another weapon?
But Reuben Bain and Peter Woods will be available for you, I think, around that range.
Sure. I mean, I think you add one of those guys. You add maybe a linebacker, maybe, next to Demario Davis. Maybe if you want to just bulk up the offense, you want to get another tell you what, with what we've complained about so much with the run game, are they a Jeremiah Love idea there? I'm not saying, I know state of the team and the Ashton Jeanty argument is where this would come, but
no.
Might think about it. Kellen Moore had Saquon last year.
I love Jeremiah Love. I hope they don't.
Probably not, but
I hope they don't.
But you know how teams are. Best player on the board.
Speaking of, dude, my stat that told the story was actually, ironically and then unironically, I'll get to both of the sides of these things. My stat that told the story has to do with Taysom Hill. Okay? Taysom Hill got 35 snaps in this game. That's how you know that they knew that they were going to whoop your ass.
Also,
because this is the most snaps that Taysom Hill has played so far this season. And they had a heavy Taysom Hill game plan for 2 reasons. 1, it was the Jets. And they knew that they were going to beat the Jets. 2, could very well be his last game in the Superdome.
3, did not have Alvin Kamara or Devin Neal.
Yeah, right. No, and I know that was
basically they made him RB1 in this game.
And I know that was a factor, but it feels as though Taysom Hill doesn't get a lot of snaps like this at this point in time because he's 35 years old, unless you kind of know you're better than the team that you're going up against. You're just like, hey, what if we throw in a little Taysom Hill here this game? And by a little, I mean a lot. But what was really cool with Taysom Hill, the unironic part of it, is first player ever in NFL history to record 1,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, and 1,000 receiving yards in a career. That's pretty cool. It's very cool. And afterwards, cool seems like the wrong word here. Watching Taysom Hill get emotional in the press conference afterwards, knowing, and he was saying how special the last 9 years have been for him, and he doesn't know if he's going to get another year here in New Orleans. He doesn't know if he's going to play another year in the NFL. There's a lot of uncertainty with this offseason coming up with him, and he was just very reflective, and you could tell that his emotions were all really hitting him when he was kind of talking about it. So that was honestly, it was a powerful moment. It was a cool moment to watch and just. Sort of reflect on the phrase that everybody talks about where, often imitated, never duplicated, never replicated, however you want to say it. a lot of teams around the NFL have just been going, well, what if we get ourselves a Taysom Hill? What if we draft this guy? He could be a Taysom Hill. I'm even guilty of that. When I'm coming up with player comps or, what this sort of tweener player between a wide receiver and a running back or a quarterback and a running back or whoever it is, you're just like, could he be the next Taysom Hill? Diego Pavia. People talk about Diego Pavia. Oh, is he just the next Taysom Hill? And we've talked about that for the last 7-8 years. And nobody's really been able to do it.
And you think
he's kind of a one of one.
And you think about not just a one of one player, but the journey he went through. 4 season-ending injuries when he was at BYU in college. Undrafted, goes to Green Bay. They cut him. He goes to New Orleans, and Sean Payton just finds this role. And not even just the offensive part. Keep in mind, too, there was a stretch where he was their kick returner as well. There was this, I don't know if he was still doing it this year. I need to check, but not this year kick returning. He was also a
punt for him.
He was a personal protector on the punt. He was on he's blocked punts. He was on all the special teams units too. Yeah. He was. I mean, you talk about Sean Payton mentioning jokers in the offense. He was a joker for your whole team. He's making tackles on the kickoff team. He's returning kicks. I mean,
Payton will sign him this offseason. Like if he wants to come back, I think he's guaranteed at least one job in this league, and that's out in Denver.
I mean, he really one of the most unique football players. I know. Now we talk about the idea of Travis Hunter, full-time offense and defense, but the amount of different things that Sean Payton and then now Kellen Moore and even previously Dennis Allen that they had Taysom Hill doing, it's just been so much fun to watch him, man, over the years. It's a great story, and then just for him to be in New Orleans this long, right? And you even think about Dennis Allen and even Kellen Moore understanding his value to the team, even on an intangible level. If that is his last game in the Superdome, what a career it's been there.
Chris Olave was awesome in this game. Fantastic game from Chris Olave. Most disappointing for me was just the Jets' defense overall this season. 0 interceptions this year. First team ever to go 15 consecutive games without an interception.
2 more games, guys. Find one. Oh, man, it's tough too. If they're going to get an interception this year, they got to do it they got to get it off either Drake May or Josh Allen. Boy.
No, it's tough. It's tough. 15 straight games without interceptions. Rough. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
Giants and the Vikings. I knew you were just itching to get off of that game. Actually, before we get to Giants-Vikings, Tyler Shuck. I read this from Ben Solak. He had a tweet earlier today. He said Tyler Shuck had 32 passes in the first half. It was the most passing attempts in the first half for any quarterback this season. They're letting him rip. Very clearly letting this dude rip.
They've been struggling to run the ball.
Yeah.
They were moving the ball well. The Saints,
I feel like they have a good amount of confidence in Tyler Shuck right now.
They do.
Going into the offseason.
It ended up 29-6. This game could have been 49-6. They actually left a lot of points on the board. I think they had kicked 6 field goals and made 5 of them. I think it was 5 for 6. Charlie Smith, what a story that is too. Their kicker. The 29-6 a blowout as is. That game could have been a lot worse. Tyler Shuck did play well. They were moving the ball all day.
Vikings and the Giants. This game was in New York. 16-13 is the final score in this one. Top 5 graded players for Minnesota who won this game. Offensive tackle Justin School with an 86.6. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson, an 85.3. Cornerback Isaiah Rodgers with an 82.5. Wide receiver Ty Felton, the 77.2. Running back Aaron Jones, a 74.3. And then quarterback Max Brosmer with a 77.8. On the Giants side of things, safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson with an 88.7. Linebacker Bobby Okereke with an 83.0. Safety Javon Holland with an 81.6. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas, a 79.0. And then offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor with a 77.6. Quarterback Jackson Dart, just a 42.7 overall grade in this one. Stat that told the story, Dalton. What do we got?
Well,
it happened.
It happened.
Well,
this game did happen, and as it did happen, the Giants Jackson Dart threw for 33 yards, and 21 of those 33 yards came after the catch. That 33 passing yards is the fewest by any team in any game this season, passing up, who had the 2 lowest totals before that, of course, the New York Jets. 7 completions is the second fewest by any team in a game this season. The Jets completed, I believe, only 6 passes against the Browns and found a way to win, mind you. So who needs the forward pass? The Giants do more often. But, 5 sacks in this game, 7 completions, 37.6 passing grade. 46.9 receiving grade. There was some drops. I think 3 drops by Giants receivers. And when you go back and I did take the painstaking task of watching this all-22 for about 15 minutes of my life that I won't get back. Brian Flores just had Jackson Dart in the absolute blender.
Yeah,
he was just, you talk about a rookie quarterback against a veteran DC who throws everything at you. Blitz Jackson Dart on 16 of his 25 dropbacks. And even the times when he dropped off, this was a learning experience game, because he went out there and in these passing situations, he was not sure what he was looking at.
No,
it
was
tough. It was tough to watch.
There was even some look. I understand. Like, I'm saying this in front of a microphone at a set in a chair. I'm not the one who's out there doing this, but there was one play from Dart. I think it was in the first quarter of this game where the Vikings are showing a lot of pressure at the line of scrimmage, as they often do. Like, whether they're going to bring everybody or it's a sim pressure, like that's something that Brian Flores loves to do. And then it was very, very soft coverage from the guys that weren't up towards the line of scrimmage. There were trips to his left, and there was one receiver to his right. Jackson Dart ends up getting pressure from his right. And instead of throwing to the receiver that was to his right on the single side right there, and maybe the read isn't for that. So I don't know how harsh I want to be on it, but it was one of those spots where, you know, Brady will say all the time, the good quarterbacks say all the time, well, throw into pressure. You know, if they bring pressure at a certain spot, they're taking a coverage player away from that area of the field. And especially when you had so many players up towards the line of scrimmage and so soft of coverage behind them, you have the ability to, okay, this guy here's the pressure coming right at me. Let me throw this ball out to a wide receiver who was running an out route to the sideline. And he had plenty of separation. The corner wasn't close to him. He would have been able to get that ball out there. I don't know if that's exactly what he's being told to look at, but it was one of those things where it's like, man, that's one of those parts of like playing quarterback where I feel like he should have been able to recognize that. It's tough to do. I'm not trying to like make it like that it's easy, but those are the parts of playing quarterback that you would like to see him pick up on, seeing where the pressure's coming from, being able to attack where pressure is coming from, especially when it's against soft coverage. If it was against tighter coverage, I kind of would have understood being a little bit confused, not knowing where to go for it, because they were pairing blitzing with tight coverage and press coverage. But that was like one of those plays where I was watching this game and I was like, God, Dart, I just don't think is seeing the field the way that he needs to right now. He's second guessing everything. He's not looking where he needs to. And even if guys are open, he's not feeling where he should go with the ball pre-snap. And we're seeing the results of that post-snap with only 33 passing yards in this game. Ultimately, this game was a struggle bus for both of these teams. Both teams had 11 penalties in this one. They couldn't really move the ball very much. J.J. McCarthy gets hurt in this game. 16-3, I think that was a reflective score of how much of a slugfest it felt like this game was.
For sure. The one guy, couple of guys I do want to credit. Andrew Van Ginkel, as always, giving it his all. 4 pressures, the sack at the end of the game that ended it. 38.5% pass rush win rate for Van Ginkel in this game. And credit Max Brosmer. J.J. McCarthy gets hurt just before halftime. Brosmer has to come in, and we saw how poorly he played against Seattle. And Kevin O'Connell even mentioned after the game, he was real proud of him going in there and finding a way to win this game. There was a 3rd and 17 throw in the fourth quarter on their game-winning field goal drive that just an outstanding, about a 20-yard out throw to Justin Jefferson. That was his one big-time throw. That was really the biggest play of the day for Minnesota. So credit Brosmer for going out there and coming in and backup duty when McCarthy got hurt. We'll see where that goes. I think it was a hand injury for McCarthy that, the Vikings, it was an ugly one, but they grind out a win, and I think that's a team that certainly had much higher expectations this year, and they're still playing with a lot of pride down the stretch here.
Falcons and Cardinals, the last game that we're talking about here. The Falcons won this game 26-19 with the final score. Falcons' top 5 graded players: center Ryan Nuzio with an 85.7, cornerback C.J. Henderson with an 81.2, tight end Kyle Pitts an 80.6, offensive guard Chris Lindstrom with an 80.6, and then halfback Tyler Algier with a 77.1. Kirk Cousins in this game, a 79.3 on Arizona's side of things. Tight end Elijah Higgins with an 82.6. Center Yalda Froholt with a 73.5. Cornerback Denzel Burke, a 72.3. Cornerback Will Johnson, a 71.4. And then halfback Michael Carter with a 68.4. Jacoby Brissett, a 64.6 overall grade here. Not good injury news I saw with Garrett Williams, their corner, with Walter Nolan as well. It just feels like it's a season from hell with injuries for the Arizona Cardinals. So, yes, they have struggled. Yes, it has looked ugly. Yes, I do feel like they could have played and executed things better. But, man, it's tough when a lot of your stars are in and out of the lineup and go down for extended periods of time, especially with major and season-ending injuries. So, been tough to watch for the Cardinals this year. They've just been very unlucky in a lot of ways. But to me, the stat that told the story, red zone. Falcons 3 for 3, Cardinals over 2. When you got a game that's pretty close, down to the wire, 7-point game, 1-score game, the red zone is always what matters. And coaches will tell you that. They need to execute in that area. And if one team's getting 3 and the other team's getting 0 opportunities there where they're able to convert, that's basically going to be the game for you right there.
2 other missed field goals outside of the red zone as well. And it feels like we've talked about this in a lot of games with the Cardinals where there were opportunities to win this game, and offensively they just couldn't take advantage. And they ran the ball pretty well with Michael Carter in this one. I think the biggest problem in this game was, and to the detriment of my fantasy team, that the Falcons really shut down Trey McBride in this game, and that's obviously been their most consistent weapon. Michael Wilson with another solid day, just a crazy touchdown catch too. We've talked about the contested catches with Michael Wilson, but Falcons did a really good job. They shut down Trey McBride. Bijan Robinson played really well, and eventually they made just enough plays to get out of there with it. But yeah, Arizona in the red zone, it's been a problem, and them converting opportunities has been a problem all year.
Bijan Robinson was great. Made it look easy in this game like he often does. 186 total yards. He had a touchdown in this one, a couple of really big plays. Just reestablishing and continuing to remind everybody that he's one of the best offensive weapons in the game, whether it's out of the backfield or deep down the field. So very impressed with Bijan. And then my most disappointing was just Marvin Harrison Jr. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. has been dealing with his injuries as well throughout the season, but 3 targets in this game, 1 catch, 14 yards, 58.4 receiving grade. And a big issue that I have with Harrison Jr. is that there just seems to be a lot of times where he's not making it easy on himself. Like that pass that was in the end zone, totally mistimes the jump, contorts his body a weird way where he's almost like horizontal in the air. And he's just, and it like, yeah, when you watch the play, you go, man, what a tough catch that would have been. And it's like, I feel like he kind of made that a much tougher catch than he needed to. And it just feels as though that's been a little bit too much of a consistent issue for him this year. It feels like he's making life difficult on himself, and playing in the NFL is difficult enough. You don't need to be doing that to yourself. So just been a disappointing year from Harrison, especially seeing when he's out of the lineup how good Michael Wilson has been, how good Trey McBride has been. It's like, man, you're supposed to be a dynamic trio here of pass catching weapons, and it feels like when he is out there in the lineup, he's just not somebody that they could be consistent and relied upon for them.
It feels like when you watch him play, there for a lot of this year, there's been this lack of confidence.
Yeah, that too. And the injuries might go into that. But yeah.
For sure. But even early in the year, and there had always been, when Kyler Murray was playing, there had always been kind of this weird lack of chemistry between him and Kyler on the field that for some reason it just hasn't worked the way they've wanted it to through 2 years. So yeah, I mean that part is tough, and in another part of a tough season here for Arizona. And look at Atlanta getting a win for the second straight week as well, running the ball well. Kirk Cousins playing reasonably well, getting wins for this team. I'll be honest with you, most impressive, just because I didn't even know he was still in the league. Gator great, C.J. Henderson. How about the game-winning interception? I had to look at it. He didn't take a single defensive snap last year. He hadn't taken a snap on defense since 2023.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he caught this game-winning interception, and I was like, wait, is that?
Hey, Florida Gators, they show up.
They just rise from the ashes.
They just rise from the ashes.
Oh boy, man. I didn't. Hand up, I didn't even know he was still in the league, and then he turns out with the game-winning interception in this one. I was like, wow, props to you, CJ.
That's great.
Well done.
Gator, great for you. Appreciate everybody watching the show. This is a lot of fun going through all of these games. Man, we got 2 weeks of the NFL season left. A lot still on the line. You were talking about how if the Colts lose tonight against the 49ers, a lot of the teams are going to be locked into place for the AFC side of things, but we'll have a lot of jockeying for seeds and everything over the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be exciting. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the preview and recap shows that we have here. If you don't have the PFF Plus subscription, Everything that we talked about here on the show, you guys can see and research for yourself. Holiday 30s, how you get 30% off that PFF Plus subscription. And it's beyond just the grades and the premium stats. It's the fantasy football tools. It's the betting tools. It's the NFL draft tools, all of that good stuff. So you can enjoy it not just in football season, but throughout the entire offseason as well. What time are you guys going live for college?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Make sure, okay, so when we sign off here, make sure you guys pull up the PFF College channel, because these guys are going to be previewing the college football playoff games that are going to be coming to us next week. So that'll be very exciting. And then we will be back tomorrow.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
Somehow we're going to fit in a whole NFL preview by 10 a.m. tomorrow. We've got it.
We are indeed. So adjusting the schedule a little bit. Normally, you guys know that we go Wednesday at 1 o'clock to do the preview. Because it's Christmas week, we are moving the preview to tomorrow at 10 a.m. So for everybody behind the glass producing this show and the one tomorrow, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying we will see you guys at 10 a.m. tomorrow for the preview show. See you guys then.